Yes, thank you very much. And so again, for a great evening, students, we are going to start a mock paper discussion on behalf of CA Sri Lanka. So I'm conducting this session from the CA Sri Lanka premises. So basically, that all of you would have already faced the mock examination conducted by CA Sri Lanka. So today's my intention is to discuss uh, in detail the mock examination paper held by Sri Lanka in the third week of December. So basically, today's session will continue for a long hours, and so I hope that you will have energy throughout the session to listen to this all these stories that we are going to discuss today, and also the answers that we are intending in discussing it today. Right? So probably it will go for 4 hours or more than 4 hours because a paper discussion. Generally, a paper discussion takes a little longer time because we have to discuss the surrounding information in the scenarios and also the possible alternative answers for the question that you would have written. So likewise, there are various surrounding information we have to discuss when we do a auditing related examination question paper. So therefore, it takes a little bit of a more time. So now time is 6:15. So I believe and I expect every one of you to have a really a courage and I would say it's a very motivated mind throughout the next 4 hours or more than 4 hours time. Probably it will be maybe 10 maybe 10 or in between 11 only this session will get over, right? So with that energetic mind and with that motivation, let us start the paper discussion now. The first of all, I would like to thank for Sri Lanka Education Division and inviting me for conducting this paper discussion session for the benefit of all CL1 students who are facing the examination in in coming week, 17th of January at 1:45 p.m. You will have your examination. This is going to be the final examination under the current curriculum. So therefore, student, you need to have a really good preparation somehow to pass the examination. And in the meantime, if you have any question or any clarification to be obtained for any subject area in relation to the auditing, even a theory or the practical application, because I'm coming from the background of audit firm, so I will be able to give you a realistic or a very proper answer to you. So accordingly, you are free to ask any question during the today's discussion, right? So having said that, the session will be conducted mainly in English language because this is official platform of the Sri Lanka. But if anyone else wants to do any clarification in the Sinhala as well, so you can ask me. I will be additionally give you a explanation for the Sinhala as well. Unless otherwise you are requested, I will conduct that in a very simple language, in English language, where everyone is going to be benefited in the today's discussion, right? So students, now basically, so I come to this mock paper discussion for CA Sri Lanka because CA is the brand that developed or brought us for all these positions. And we also need to support the students as much as possible for you all also to coming into this position, this premises as the member or a chartered accountant very shortly. And so therefore, when I conduct any session from the CA Sri Lanka premises, it's a really courage for me because I am back to it's kind of a different feeling is there because it's a CA is the one, CA is the brand or a CA is the qualification, CA is the everything that changed my life, right? That everything of my life has been achieved because of CA in the recent life in the professional career, right? Having said that, students, now mock examination paper of December 2025, first of all, so you need to understand that the mock examination, the purpose of the mock examination. So mock examination paper is not one-to-one match with the final examination paper, right? So it may be connected to the type of the final examination paper, but there is no link, right? So sometime when you are doing the mock examination paper, you would have realized that some of the questions are not up to the level of the final examination paper, or the content of the questions are a bit of a different with compared to the final examination paper. Yeah, there can be because thing would be this is for a different purpose, and in order to ensure that you are now ready for the CL1 paper, so on behalf of that only CA conduct this mock examination paper, right? So therefore, there can be some level differences, which I will explain during my paper discussion, and what kind of gap is there. But there's a purpose that we want as Sri Lanka for you to come forward and come to Sri Lanka premises and write the by yourself, by keeping the 3 hours, write the paper and get practice yourself. And she has put up a lot of effort in delivering that and arranging that, and also arranging this kind of paper discussion. So therefore, we should appreciate the effort taken by Sri Lanka. And if there is a gap of the examination paper, let us discuss today and how and what it will come. But and also meantime, if you have any clarification to be obtained, you can ask during the session with regard to the paper. Right. So let me to open up the paper, share the screen. Right. So I hope that you can see the screen. Can you drop a message, please? If you
Yes, we can see. We can see.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Right. So then, students, now basically this before coming into the mock paper, so basic instruction, because all these mock papers on the recent examination, last examination paper, so I discussed on behalf of Sri Lanka. You are sometime watching the YouTube, and it is available in the Sri Lanka Online Academy. And basically, before you enter into the CL1 auditing paper, you need to have a very clear-cut, peaceful mind or a strong mind position that. So you will somehow pass the examination. You will somehow write the 3 hours examination paper at whatever the circumstances that you are going to face during that 3 hours time. When the 17th of January, when you get the examination paper, sometime when it come to your hand, from 1:45 to 5 p.m., the timeline is going to be so crucial. Every single minute, every single second is going to be important. So throughout the 3 hours and 15 minutes, it's really required for you to have a stable and positive mind towards that. So as a starting point, I recommend in all the students at that mindset maintenance perspective. So you can write something bigger in the something something in the paper itself, that I will somehow do this, starting like with a very positive mind. Right. So you can write something, I will somehow do this. I will somehow do this. If you are doing online examination, you can't do this, but at least physical examination student, keep the momentum, keep the courage. So mind can do a lot of things, right? So you need to have the auditing knowledge, yes, but along with that, you need to have the mental strength to face into the challenge. So therefore, whatever the challenges that you are coming in, you are getting in, you are going to face it. So that kind of a beginning courage is needed. And then thereafter, it's very much crucial, students. So you to have a very important time management approach, because most of the time, if you don't write the 90 plus marks, right, 90 plus marks during the examination, for chances of passing the examination is less. Because so even though whatever the level, even though you have learned to an extent, and even though you know everything in the auditing subject, so always the judgments are involved in the auditing, where it will direct you that you can't get the entire number of marks. Say if it is given 10 mark, you are unable to get the 10 mark because of why? A lot of judgments are involved, right? A lot of alternative answers are available. Alternative way of thinking is available given the practical circumstances, right? So therefore, it's very crucial for you to have a time management skill. So in order to have a time management skill, what I have told you all is the previous the paper discussions. Either always you decide press 15 minutes and go through the exam paper and as much as possible, you see that go through the exam paper, mean only required part. You have to read the required part, and then just see what is your preference order, what is your selection order, on what order you are going to do the paper. All right, that's very crucial, student. If you don't have such a smart plan, if you don't have a plan, end of the day you can't achieve your goal, because CL1 is not easy. So you have to have a preparation. And so always what I recommend is, so let's say you have decided, looking at the required part, you have decided to do the question number 2 pressed, then you know that the question number 2 press mean. So what happens here is that you know that 10 mark question is question number 2, 10 mark question. So you can maximum devote 1.5 minute per mark. So that means so only 15 minutes. So now basically you have 1.8, 1 mark. Always you have 1.8. How it is coming? You have 3 hours time. So when you have 3 hours time, 180 minutes. So always you can multiply by 1.8. But as a precaution, I recommend to multiply by 1.5. So that means 15 minutes available. So what matters is you have to always put the ending time, not the time that you are allocating, but ending time of attending the question number 2. Let's say you are finishing at 2:15. This is going to be finished at 2:15. That's very crucial, right? Let's say then next I'm selecting the question number 4. I have to finish at 2:30. So at whatever the circumstance, student, you should finish at 2:30. You should not go even a single minute by overwriting. Overwriting always killing the marks of auditing paper. So you have to reduce the timing as much as possible. If you finish at the 2:30, stop from there and move forward. That's all. Keep a space if you want to write later and just move forward. And if you try to accumulate, no, I will write small part of the information and go to the next question. I'll take 5 minutes from this question and go to the next question. Don't do that. If you have not finished by 2:30, stop the writing, keep a space and go to the next question. So likewise, try to manage the timing is very, very, very crucial. There are some of the students who are interested and who are enjoying in writing more and more answers. Remember that if you are interested and enjoying writing more and more answers, that is the end of the story, right? That is the end of the story. Why? So you are writing, one question will be a very nice question, very interesting answer, and the person who is looking after that question will be more happy, and that person has given a 10 out of 10 of the question. But let's say you have written only 5 questions, so 50 out of 40 you have got, but balance 50 you have not written. What is the end results? Fail. End result is what? End results is fail. Student, therefore, you always remember, it's not an examination, is not that you are trying to show your colors, right? Don't try to show your colors. So you try to show or try to give the information on what the examiner had asked. Just because you are rating a one question properly doesn't mean that you will be able to get from, right? So you will be able to get from marks from the other question, because papers are being marked by separate team. Now I'm in the 5th floor of Sri Lanka. If you go to the down, if you go down and you have the main hall, you would have seen the paper marking process sometime. So one team is there. So that team, what they do, so they will be marking only 1 or 2 questions. Entire paper is not being marked by one individual. So therefore, just because of you are writing what a fantastic answer will not ensure that you are getting a 50 marks, right? Please understand that. Don't be overconfident, and always what matters is give the answer to the question that is asked by the examiner. Don't try to overemphasize or over-explain the answers to make the examiner happy. There is no examiner happy. There is no sympathy marks. So if you are written to the points, and you will get the marks. Okay, clear? Right. So this most important instruction that I want to give you, student, is the time management. That is number 1. And also you have to see what most important is, the next one is the reading question. The most of our student, the biggest problem, student, that you are not reading the question, because auditing is a kind of a different language where audit firm, at inside of our audit firm, we use a different language. But what happens is that comes into the paper. Sometimes if you don't read the question, examiner is so cunning that he will put some different terminology to make you confused. So therefore, conscious mind, right? Conscious mind is so important, and the reading the question is so important for a answer delivery in a systematic manner. If you don't read conscious mind, there will be some misunderstanding of the required part, and also sometimes you will give an answer but is not connected, what is not relevant to the examiner's expectation, right? Now the next one, student, the is very much important that the understanding the required part. So reading the question is important, and you are not focusing on the required part. Very crucial. The required part must be clearly concentrated, and also it's very much important for you to focus on the action verb. I'll tell you today, action verb, and also the another important is the marks given, right? Sometimes we know students and everything, we know everything, but sometimes what happens? We don't write to the examiners allocated marks. If they are only given by 2 marks, right? What happens is you are writing for a 5 marks, but the examiner can give only 2 marks. So it's very crucial for you to understand time management, reading question, and also what it called reading the questions carefully and looking at the action verb, looking at the marks given, right? The last final one, students, a concentrated mind, right? Concentrated mind, very crucial. Concentrated mind means, students, you always need to really be vigilant about what you do. So what you are going to, what you currently do, that you have to be careful. Concentrated mind throughout the 3 hours and 15 minutes should be there. If something comes into your mind and disturb, and if you feel that the paper is so tough this time, so therefore I will not be able to do it, some that kind of a thing. No, you have to think like in a different manner. This is the final opportunity under the current curriculum. I don't have any other chance. I will, I should, I shall, I must finish the game this time. So therefore, so during the 3 hours time, you have to have a very concentrated and peaceful mind. A very much important point. Sometimes a very intelligent student, the student who have done all the works of auditing standards, and sometimes I have experience, and they would have got gone to the examination and they got stuck because overthinking and over expectation. So, but go naturally, go leisurely. That don't take it like that. So go naturally. Don't take it that serious, and so try to uh, have a concentrated mind during the 3 hours time. Right. So okay. That having said that, I think all initial informations are over. So now let us coming into the game, and we will start with the MCQ question. And I hope that you would have already answered the MCQ question. And let us see MCQ question. What MCQ questions are there? So basically, the MCQ question, what I can see, students, in this mock paper, I would say not up to the final examination level, but questions are good. I will put in that way. So sometimes the final examination, the informations are much larger than given here. Large informations are given. So therefore, there can be a gap of mock paper, but still those questions are good question for you in terms of testing your knowledge, right? And in terms of practicing the MCQ questions. And I have told you the several previous videos in the Sri Lanka videos, what most important thing is for you to apply two fundamental principles when you do the MCQ questions. What are those fundamental principles? Can somebody remember that? What can be the fundamental principle of MCQ questions? Number one is the elimination theory. Very crucial for you to have elimination theory. Elimination theory. What is the elimination theory in the sense? So in auditing, always if the question answer is not clear, you always need to remove the two wrong answers. Generally, all the MCQ question, there will be some wrong answers. So you have to remove the wrong answers and take always the right two answers. And out of two, what best that you have to select. And the second theory that I have given you all, that is the immediate answer that comes to your mind may not be the correct answer, right? So immediate answer that comes to your mind may not be the correct answer. It's very crucial, right? Right. So immediate answer. We note that the immediate answer always it goes wrong in auditing. Sometimes when I work at the audit firm also, so sometimes if I get an immediate answer on something on audit opinion or audit procedures or audit conclusion, quality management or whatever, so my back mind always work. No. Look here, my immediate answer will go wrong. Can happen, right? So technique must be adapted, but so you have to finish in 30 minutes, right? So you can't take it even a single minute more than 30 minutes for the MCQ. Practice, there are 60 MCQ questions, the revision kit. There are about 10 past papers from 2020, 10 into 10, 100 questions are there. right? If you look at the 10 papers, 10 into 10, 100 questions are there. There are another 16 the MCQ question. 160 MCQ questions are available if you want to practice it. If you really want to do, you can. But if you don't want to do, and there are with some reasons, you can say, dude, you don't have a time. Oh, I know the MCQ. I can manage the MCQ. I don't have to worry. I mean, no, right. Okay, students, let's look at the question. Question says that XYZ Limited ask an audit firm. XYZ Limited ask an audit firm to perform its annual audit. Management agreed to provide the access to records but refused to confirm responsibility for preparing the finance statement. So XYZ Limited. So in our basic diagram, right? So management is there, XYZ. Shareholders are there, right? Shareholders are there. Auditor is there. XYZ Limited asks an audit firm to perform its annual audit. Management agrees to provide the access to records but refuse to confirm responsibility for preparing the financial statement. How nice. That is their baby, not our baby. So they have to take up the responsibility. If they can't take their responsibility, how can we give an opinion? Now this management is preparing the financial statement, student. Whose finance statement? Our finance statement. Is our finance statement? No, the finance statements belongs to whom? XYZ Limited. Then who should take the responsibility? Auditor. So can't be, right? So this is where it is mentioned. Where it is mentioned. It is under SLIS 210 precondition. What should the auditor conclude about the precondition for an audit? So we learned 210 standard the preconditions. So preconditions are so important. So even an example that I have given was the before marriage. Right? So if you're getting into a marriage, a legal marriage in front of a registrar, and before that with your girlfriend or a boyfriend, you agree to a certain conditions. Those are called precondition. For example, say after marriage we have to have a house. After marriage you have to come home by 6 o'clock. After marriage you can't drink, and there are some conditions agreed, and after that only you go for a marriage. So precondition not satisfied means you can't go for a marriage. So similarly, when audit of the financial statement also, management and the auditor has to have a deep understanding on principle what we carry out audit. On what principle we carry out audit. So that's a deep understanding called as a precondition, student. So that precondition is very important. So management responsibility is coming under one of the preconditions, right? So now answer is the precondition is satisfied because access to record is granted. No. The precondition is not satisfied since the management has not accepted the responsibility. Yes, precondition not satisfied. The auditor can proceed with but disclose the issue with the audit report. No, this is not audit report matter. This is acceptance matter. Then auditor should rely on the internal audit to compensate the residual. No, that is nothing can be done with the internal audit. These are like a big picture before you undertake. This is before marriage. So not after marriage. All these are internal audit and all these audit report and all these coming after marriage. But this is kind of a before marriage. So therefore, correct answer will be, right? Correct answer will be the precondition is not satisfied since the management has not accepted the responsibility for the financial statement. Second one, you are auditing. You can ask any question if you have, right? And you are asking the audit of, you are auditing a small manufacturing company. The trade receivable balance is material, but not complex. So trade receivable balance is material, but not complex. The key assertion risk identified is completeness. Key assertion risk identified is completeness, right? Completeness. Key assertion risk identified is completeness, right? What procedure best address the assertion level risk? Bit of a tricky question. Huh? Can you tell me the answer, student? Can you tell me the answer? What is the answer for this? Can you quickly drop it the message? A, B, D, all answers are there. Good. C only not there. B, A, D. Right. Okay, good. So let me explain this. Which procedure best describe the assertion level risk? Now you have a Right? You have, then you are auditing a small manufacturing company. Trade receivable balance is material but not complex. So you have a trade debtors and it is material but not complex, right? Not complex, not complex. So now we are looking at the trade receivable. What? Completeness, not the existence, not the rights and obligation, not the accuracy or whatever, and not the presentation or whatever. You are looking at what? You are looking at the completeness, right? So in order to verify the completeness, what the key audit procedure, what matters here? Send positive confirmation to a sample of customers. Generally, sending a positive confirmation, right? Generally, send a positive confirmation will ensure what? Mostly, it will ensure student existence. Agree? Yes. Review the subsequent cash receipt to match the recorded receivables. Review the subsequent cash receipt to match the recorded receivables. Right? Review subsequent cash receipts to match the recorded receivable. That also mainly ensure the existence. Do you agree with me? Right. Inspect invoices for good dispatch after the year end. So inspect the inspect the invoices for goods dispatch after the year end. So that mostly connected to the revenue occurrence, right? This is right kind of a revenue, not the red receivable. Perform physical verification of customer address. It's not audit procedure coming under the completeness. It is kind of a procedure which is connected to the existence verification or a confirmation procedure. That cannot take at all. Actually, student, these two are out. Why? So perform physical verification of customer address is not addressing the completeness, right? Inspect invoice of the good dispatch note at the year end, that's the occurrence of sales. But first A and B, elimination theory, what is the best answer? The best answer would be, student, the answer B, review subsequent cash receipt and match to the recorded receivables. You know why? You know why? The reason behind, students, now send positive confirmation to a sample customers. So what happens is, so you send a confirmation letter to a sample of customers, and that will ensure mainly the balance that has been already recorded, whether actually available, actually physically or whatever a substance it is available. That's more towards in evaluating the existence, not the completeness. Completeness because you are starting from the trade debtors already accounted. All right. So you are selecting a sample of trade debtors already accounted. That will ensure what is accounted is correct or not. This will ensure what is accounted is correct. That will not ensure that all what is not accounted are also captured into the scenario. The second one, review subsequent cash receipt and match to the recorded receivable. It is students now, say from the, this is the point here. If you are starting from the ledger and go to the evidence, will never ensure an completeness. The ledger recorded one, of course, it is recorded. Nothing else will come. But you are looking at the evidence and then you are coming back to the ledger. That's only will ensure the completeness. So review subsequent cash receipts and match to the recorded receivable. Backward approach. This is the perfect answer. I hope that you got the point, right? How nice. Right. And we also sometimes we carry out and as a procedure for subsequent cash receipt for recorded receivables, right? Now the here say this second procedure also can be done as a first thing. Start with the ledger and then do the subsequent settlement review. Then it will ensure the existence. But here, review the subsequent cash receipt and match to the recorded receivables. You are coming back. You are coming back means to ensure the completion. It's a tricky question, huh? Right. So coming back to the next question number 3. So you are auditing a non-complex entity. The auditor decides to confirm the year-end bank balance directly with the bank. The bank requires auditor to send the confirmation through request through the client online banking portal. It's very common now, right? In the audit firm, we also do practice that. So which action best ensure the confirmation provides a relevant and reliable audit evidence? You are auditing a non-complex entity. The auditor decides to confirm the year-end bank balance directly with the bank. Yeah, of course, right? It is required. The bank requires the auditor to send the confirmation request through the client's online banking portal. So do you understand, student, what happens here is now sometime, let's say we are auditors of John Kills and we want a direct confirmation. So direct confirmation to be bank to be sent by us, but the request generally can go through us with the client later. But now that everything has been automated and technology oriented, so what happens here? What happens accordingly that client has an online login to the banking system, and through that you can make a request. So it's can you prohibit that? No, you can't prohibit. You can't prohibit, right? Because if it is the technology, it has to be done. But then what action best to ensure the confirmation provide relevance? So having said that practical application, so what best the auditor can do to ensure that this evidence is appropriate? Accept the client offer to upload the confirmation request without an oversight? No. Send the confirmation request using the client portal, but ensure the response is returned directly to the auditor. Correct. Ask the client to print the bank statement and email it to the auditor. And rely on the prior confirmation. No, no, it cannot be. So therefore, answer will be the right answer will be the send the confirmation request using the client portal, but ensure that the response is returned to the directly to the auditor. Right, we come into the question number 4, student. That is mainly from the it's coming from the sampling. Sampling, one of the hot topics in the auditing paper, or one of the popular topic in this auditing paper. You are auditing a small trading company. The auditor needs to test sales transaction for accuracy. So you need to test the sales transaction for accuracy. The population consists of 5,000 invoices, 5,000 of invoices, and the auditor wants to ensure every item has a chance of selection while focusing on a high value invoice. So now what happens is when auditor is going to check 5,000 invoices, right? So population. So you have 5,000 invoices. So you are auditing a small trading company. The auditor needs to test sales transaction for accuracy. The population consists of 5,000, and the auditor wants to ensure every item has a chance of selection. Now, obvious students, we know that we can't test all 5,000. So then you have to have a sample selection. But auditor wants that every item has a chance of selection. Every item has a chance of selection. Students, it is not that every item has a equal chance of selection. It is not that the fact that it has a equal chance of selection. Nah? Please don't misunderstand. So there's a question, second MCQ question. What is the answer? Second question answer is answer B. So it's not the equal chance of selection. Equal chance of selection means so you have an equal opportunity to get selected. But here, when you're auditing, it doesn't require to have an equal chance of selection. If you look at the random sampling, so in the night time, now of course people are not interested, but those days were interested. Night time, national jati group lottery. So you have a big ball, and then so many numbers are there. It is like cycling, right? Cycling and get one item is picked. What happened? It has a equal chance of selection. All right. So sampling is not that student that need to have an equal chance of selection. It's not really required. So what it should be is, So it should be chance of selection. So it may be, it depends. Right. So now which selection method best estimate this objective? Haphazard sampling, Haphazard selection of invoices from the file. Block selection of invoices from the first 2 weeks of December. Moderated sampling to give high value items a greater chance of selection. Selecting only invoices over a certain threshold. What is your answer, student? Just quickly put the answer. DC is coming. Well, let us look at the answers one by one. Now, student, the Haphazard sampling is mean what? Haphazard sampling mean always it is kind of a random sampling. It's an advanced version of random sampling. So everyone has an equal chance of selection, and in order to avoid the bias and all of random sampling, so it's not the expectation here because so want to have a while focusing the high value invoices and all. So specific characteristic is coming into the scene. So therefore, this is not the answer, right? Hapsat. And then block selection definitely can't, right? Block selection is like everyone has not, no, everyone has not, there is no chance for everyone, but block selection is like a kind of a block is selected. So 50 to 100 block is selected. So that is also out of the scene. Then moderated sampling MUS to give a higher value items and a greater chance of selection. That is correct. And selecting only invoices over a certain threshold. Both are correct. Now you tell me what is out of the best elimination theory. Now you have C and D. Think it over. What is the best answer if you look at it? What is the best? Now all are commenting C. C. Initially they commented D. Why? This is where the examiner strategy student. You have to have elimination theory. So if you have a, say you have a, uh, I should not take that example, but let's say you have a four selection to be made in your life. Say you want to select your partner, you want to select a partner, but there are four people. Let's say girl wants to select a boy, your boy wants to select a girl, and there are four girls. So you want to select what whom will suit to you. So in that case, right, what happens is you can't select out of four sometimes. So what you have to do is identify the reasons and remove two, right? Now you have a two out of two, you have to select what best, not the perfect, but what best. So here, so you have removed two out of that, what would be the best? One-to-unit sampling will be the much technically correct, sampling techniques in order to address the this kind of a specific characteristic while ensuring that every item has a chance of selection. So therefore, answer C will be the most accurate and the correct answer, right? Okay, now we are coming into the answer 5. So you are auditing a large listed company, telecom company. During the overall review, the auditor notes that the EBIT the margin dropped by 32% to 22%, while industry peers remain stable. Management attributes this to strategic pricing, but no detailed analysis is provided. What we should do next? What is the student? What has happened actually when you're auditing a listed company? So audit has noted that the margin, right? Margin has dropped from 32 to 24. It has reduced from 22 to 32 to 24. It's a drastic reduction. This is a drastic reduction. It's a drastic reduction. And what needs to be done now? Management has told that this is a pricing strategy. Pricing mean so you have reduced the prices. So since you have reduced the prices, obviously there will be reduction in the margin. So when the selling price is reduced, we could mila adu karana kota hama velavema pallehang margin එක අඩු වෙනවා. When the revenue, when the selling price is reduced, the margin always comes down, students. Now that is the answer given by the client. Just because of what client tells, are we going to accept? Client කියන මේ ඔක්කොම අහනවද? When the client is telling so many stories, are we going to listen into that one? No, students. We are not going to listen into that all the stories. but we need to have a elaborative answer, a satisfaction, evidence for us to accept the what client tells. So accept the management explanation without further work. Are we to? No. Yeah, the auditor said no. All right. Investigate the various using the analytical procedures and collaborate with other evidences. Yeah. When you have a differences, you have to investigate it and identify it. Ignore the various because analytical procedures are optional at the completion. No, you can't ignore. Adjust the material to compensate the margin drop. So when the margin, when you are see, if you can't identify the information, what sometime auditors do, you change the materiality. Then you don't have to investigate. That's not correct. So therefore, answer will be investigate the various using the analytical procedures, collaborate with the other evidences. Right, we are coming to the question number 6. The auditor complete the field work on March 10 of the finance statement dated 31st December before signing the report on March 10. March 20, the auditor learns that the major customer declared a bankruptcy on March 15. How should the auditor respond? So what has happened, student? So auditor complete the field work on March 10. So 10th March, so field work is completed. This is for 31st December financial year. And signing happened 20th March. So audit field work has been done during the after year end, and we are finished by March 10th March. Now you are going to sign off by 20th March. There should be a time gap because there are a lot of documentation printing. There are a lot of reviews are being taken place. But during this period, what has happened was a major customer declared bankruptcy, right? One of the major customer got bankrupt, right? Bankruptcy. So on March 15, so in between these 10 days, what should be the Shivaras auditors respond? Ignore the event because it occurred after the year end and it's not relevant. Ignore the event. It is because no, it is well before the finance statement of sign off. You can't do that. Treat it as a subsequent event. Treat a subsequent event. Evaluate its impact and consider the adjustment and disclosure. Yeah, this is a subsequent event, student. Until the finance statements are being signed off, it called a subsequent event. Auditor has a responsibility to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidences with regard to the subsequent events, right? Events after the reporting date. Issue the audit report immediately without performing any further audit procedures. No, you can't do like that. Auditors are so genuine. You have to be real into the facts. So you are aware that has happened. You can't avoid that. So therefore, that is not correct. Withdraw from the engagement because when the event create uncertainty, how to withdraw? Because already finance statement audit is over. Once the audit is over, you can't think about the withdrawal unless otherwise it's a very, very serious issue. Answer B. Question number 6 will be the correct answer. Question number 7. A global logistic company uses big data analytics, forecast delivery time, and optimize routes. The system relies on the real-time traffic data, whether feeds or historical delivery records. Management assumes the analytics output is always accurate and bases strategic decisions only on those predictions. Superb. Which is the risk most relevant for this scenario? What tell students again? A global logistic company uses a big data analytics to forecast delivery time and optimize routes. The system relies on the real-time traffic data, whether feeds or historical delivery records. Management assumes the analytics output is always accurate and basis for strategic decisions already on those predictions. Now, sometimes this is a good example, students, when you get the Google map. Sometimes Google map gives you a time and sometimes the location. When you go there, there is no such a location. It can happen. You can't always over reliance on the analytics. You have to have a smart planning of using that. Right. So which risk is the most relevant in this scenario? Over reliance on analytics leading to a poor decision if data models are flawed and biased. Right. Guaranteed elimination on delivery delays through the predictive modeling. Increase audit fees because of the large data volume. You are going to increase audit fee. No, that is not correct. Automatic compliance with all operational standard. No. Guaranteed elimination of delivery delays through predictive modeling. So what would be the most relevant risk of the given scenario will be over-reliance on analytics lead into a poor decision if data models are flawed and biased. So if you have any question, you can ask. What is the answer for question number 6? Question number 6 is coming with the answer B. Right, question number 8. So question number 8. So what it says is that a financial services firm is moving its core system to the cloud. Yeah, it has to be. Management is worried about the unauthorized access during the migration. Financial services firm is moving to a core system, its core system to the cloud. Everything is in cloud right now. So management is worried about the unauthorized access during the migration. When there is a migration, there will be unauthorized access. It's possible. Which control best mitigate this risk? Which control best mitigate this risk? Multi-factor authentication and role-based access, monthly security awareness session, annual penetration testing, hiring more help desk staff. So what is your answer, student? What is your answer? So what do you think? Obvious, right? All of you have corrected the correct answer. Multi-factor authentication and role-based access. Yeah, that's what only can be done through the during system data migration. It's a common sense. Monthly security awareness session won't work. Annual no point in this data migration at a point. Hiring more help desk staff also won't work. Right, the question number 9, students, what it says, an audit firm is asked to provide a bookkeeping services to an existing client. It's a bookkeeping service. So bookkeeping service to an existing client. Management wants the same team to handle both the tasks. So now audit firm, same team is handling the audit and bookkeeping. How nice. There are small firms, still today's world also it is engaged. Which independent threat is most significant under the conceptual framework? So under the conceptual framework, what is the most significant threat is? That is obviously an easiest answer, right? I don't have to tell you anything. If you are preparing the book, and you carry out the audit, what is that? It is a self-review threat. It's a self-review that you are reviewing the work that you have done by yourself. Question number 10. An audit client asks the firm to act as legal representative to a court case involving a tax dispute. An audit client asks the firm to act as the legal representative in a court case involving a tax dispute. The firm is also engaged as the client's statutory auditor for the same year. Which threat and mitigation apply? Students, you can answer. What is the answer for question number 10? Obvious. Answer B. Yes, I don't have to tell you. It's one of the easiest question. It will be answer B. Why answer B? It's advocacy. You are appearing on behalf of your client. What happens here? So you have a triangle, let's say. So management is there, shareholder is there, auditor is there, right? What happens here is now in addition to being an independent auditor, now management is asking from the auditor, can you become a lawyer, right? Can you appear on behalf of in the court? So what happened is, right? It is your advocacy, advocacy that you are appearing on behalf of the client. You are promoting your client. You are appearing on behalf of your client. What happens? Later, when you carry out the audit, you can't come and challenge the client because why? You have already presented. You have already like appeared on behalf of your client. In that case, students, you are unable to appear later, or you can't resolve some financial reporting issues later with the client. So therefore, so generally, now as you are aware, Code of Ethics 2025 has come now. Are you aware? So this will be tested in your examination of December 2025. Now, of course, January. That will be tested. There are some minor changes like taxation services. So the minor changes of taxation services, valuation services like that. So taxation services, of course, there is one big change that you need to be aware. There is a possibility of being testing. I have one page short note I can show you, but I will see if I have time later for you all that taxation related what is the changes that has happened. But even if I am not having a time today, so please have a look on the recent CA Sri Lanka material on the Code of Ethics 2025 in a high level analysis. That is a separate supplementary document was issued by CA Sri Lanka around 2 weeks ago, right? So that has to be seen. And accordingly, this legal, you are appearing in the court on behalf of your client is prohibited. So you can't do that. So advocacy, decline the service, apply the safeguard. So that will be the correct answer. Right. So all 10 MCQs finished. How many answers are correct from your end? Kia Kharida. Just, just, just drop text in the group or chat box. So 10 out of 10. Right, so happy to see that. So 9, 10 is the actually all 10 can correct this one except question number 2. Question number 2 is bit of a tricky. All other 9 should be correct for you all because these are not very up to the level of the final examination question, but moderate, I would say. These are easy questions, some of them, but not definitely not. Our level of final examination would be little higher than this. Huh? Don't expect this question in the final paper. But if you are here, of course, 8 or 9 should be correct, not less than that. But when it comes to final paper, I always recommend so you to uh, at least there will be 2 questions difficult. So at least 6 to 7 marks or 6 to 7 questions somehow to get it correct. But remember, students, what is most important is you are assigned only 30 minutes for this question. Right? If you are taking more than 30 minutes by in practice, so that you can check whether you are taking 30 minutes or not at the exam. So now you have a past paper. So please practice and see whether you can finish within the given time. So you have to practice and go to the examination, not just going. Right? Let's look up in the 1 hour gone. Let's coming into the question number 2. So do you have any questions up to now? Prashna Tiranda Manohari? Any question? Can you please explain the Code of Ethics key changes, taxation and valuation? Of course, if I possible, I'll put it to the chat box that the taxation size change, of course, but you can always look into the document issued by CA Sri Lanka, but this is a bit of a tricky document. Sometimes by just reading the document, you will not be able to understand in a proper manner. But if I have a time today, I'll do. If not, I'll share the document into the this particular chat. Just remind me at the later stage. So if you are unable to get it, that I can share in the through the Chartered Institute representative to you all in the email itself, or I can upload to the social media that you can get it from social media as well in whatever the convenient method. But you should know that. Fact is that you should know. Okay, no questions. How is the energy? The energy has come down. You are going to be chartered accountant in the next year or the year 27, 26 or 27, going to go over to the BMICH. So energy must be there. Chartered accountants always energetic, no sleeping mood, no negative mood, right? No down, like all like dull mood. Those things should not be there for chartered accountants. When you meet a chartered accountant, you always need to feel that okay, you are meeting a chartered accountant, like energy is there, right? Very, very positive. Like it's a different profession. So you have to get practice now itself because you are also coming into the club in the year 26 or 27. Na? So you have to come back. Whether the session is available at a later date at a YouTube, I can't exactly. Yeah, I think so, but it will take some time. It will be available in the YouTube. But if you are in the live session, but I recommend you to be in the live class. Rather, you are watching a recording. When you are watching a recording, you won't feel that live participation. So you are in the live class, so I recommend you to be in the session till 10:30, 11, or sometime 12. It won't go beyond that. Don't worry. Right. So we'll coming into the question number 2, students. Remember, now I just want to highlight you again, these questions are not up to that final examination level, but moderate examination questions, right? And also sometime this year, I have noticed the required part of the question and the mark allocations are not properly aligned sometime. Sometimes the expectation of the quantity of the answers have slight expectation different, but this is a mock exam. But for the final examination, those want to be there. You know, the final examination CL1 paper is a standard paper. Okay, it's standard. It's a next level paper always. No mistakes you can see. I hope that prepared by a chartered accountant in practice. I believe. I don't know. Uh, I believe that is up to the level. Always he maintained. Last two examination it was easy. So probably expecting this examination also. Uh, all right. Going to be easy. As a prediction, we don't know. As a prediction. So even though I'm at the CSC Lanka premises, I don't know whether the paper is going to difficult or easy. But my prediction, it should be easy this time or a moderate kind of a paper should coming in. So therefore, no one should give up the exam this time. Even if you feel 100 times that I can't do the exam this time, I am having so much of frustration or pressure of doing the exam, but 101 time you have to 100 time you feel that you can't do. But again, you have to think like in 101 time that okay, I'm going to do this time. Right? That kind of a positiveness is needed. Okay. Right. Let's getting into the question number 2. Question number 2 is basically from the internal control. It's not a difficult question. Always when you are looking at the students, when you are looking at the short scenario question, these are short scenario question. You are not going to write the stories. So you are going to write the you are not going to write the stories. You have to be to the point to the number of marks assigned by the examiner, right? So basically, required part of the first you have to read required part. How many times? 3 times. Question one time reading would be sufficient, but the required part you have to read 3 times and try to always figure out yourself what examiner's expectation, what examiner wants you to write it. So that need to be figured out, that need to be realized by you before you write the answer. Students, if it's 15 minutes are there, so it's a writing maybe less than 5 minutes time. But balance 10 minutes will be the reading and identifying and prioritizing the answers. Sometimes a lot of our students, they are keeping the pen like this till the paper is given. They are ready to write always. That is a wrong approach for the reading paper. It's not correct. So examiner is asking analyzed, right? Analyze the action verb. Always action verb is important. Analyze for 5 marks. Mark allocation is so crucial. Action verb is so crucial. Analyze the design, implementation, and operating effectiveness. There are three things. There are three things: design, implementation, and operating effectiveness. Operating effectiveness of control A, B, and C. Which controls are designed appropriately? Which controls are implemented but not operating effectively? Right. Students, now here there are three things coming in. Right. So examiner asking out of this control A, B, and C, what has been properly designed, what has been properly implemented, what has been properly effectively implemented. So what do you mean that? Okay, read that. So you are evaluating the internal controls of revenue recognition. For a technology company, the process include control A, right? Give me a minute. Okay, right. Control A, it says contract review by revenue manager before system entry. Good. Control B says automated system validation of standalone selling price, allocation, and transaction price. Automated system validation. Control C, monthly reconciliation of recognized revenue versus billing by finance analysis. Three controls. Control A, contract review by revenue manager before system entry. Before a system being entered, contract is reviewed by the revenue manager. Correct. That's a good control. Automated system validation of standalone selling price allocation to a transaction price. So that means, so when you are always entering the actual price, it's always automatically validated with the price given in the system, right? Price given in the system. Student, give me 1 minute. One urgent call is coming. Right, apologies for the inconvenience. Right, I have a bad experience, and so some time ago. So therefore, when there is, I won't answer the call, but when a call coming from mother or father, I will answer at any time for wherever I am there. Otherwise, normally I don't answer. But that is, I have bad experience in my life. So it's so therefore, wherever I am there, wherever I'll answer that call. Sorry for that. Right. So during testing, you observe. Uh, you observe this. These are the observation. Control A is right. Control A is the documented, but the revenue manager was on leave for 2 months. Approvals were delegated informally without evidence. What has happened here is control A is documented, but the revenue manager was on leave for 2 months and approvals were delegated informally without evidence. Control is there. Revenue manager review the contracts before the system being entered, a good control. But unfortunately, revenue manager was on leave for 2 months, and accordingly, approvals were delegated informally without an evidence. When he is not there, it is given to someone else, but no evidence to who it was given on what basis. Okay. The second one, control B operates consistently, but the system rules were not updated for a recent price change. So, control B is good. When you enter the transaction price, actual price, it automatically match with the right. It automatically match with the system given price. And then if there is a discrepancy, automatically it will get highlighted. Right. But what has happened, student, here? Actual price is here changed, but the system upgraded price system has not been updated. So then your matching is going wrong, right? Okay. Control C was performed, but two exceptions were noted and not escalated. Control C, monthly reconciliation of recognized revenue versus billing by finance analysis. Monthly reconciliation of recognized revenue versus billing. Recognized revenue versus billing. By finance analysis, it was done. But 2 months, there were some exceptions, but not escalated, not highlighted to the next level in order to see that why it has happened, how it has happened. Now, students, in the principle that we learn under the internal control, on principles that we learn under the internal control, so we had learned three principles, right? One thing of any internal control, right? Any internal control, we look at three things. One thing is whether that such internal control is designed properly, whether it is implemented, whether it is operating effectively, whether it is designed, whether it has been properly designed in order to achieve the objective, or whether it is implemented actually as intended. And operating effective mean what? At a given point of time, say let's say for the year 2025, it was in operation at a given point in time, whether it is in operation, that is called operating effectiveness. So by looking at these, students, what is your answers? Control A, contract review by contract review by manager, review the manager before the entry is a good control. But whether it is designed properly, obviously, yes, right? Contract manager revenue review by the before system, it is a good design, right? Okay. And it says the revenue manager was on leave for 2 months, but approvals were not delegated to implement. So that means it is already implemented. But at a given point in time, it is not operating effectively, right? It is designed, it is implemented, but it is not in operation or not operating effectively. Clear? Right? So then second one, control B, automated system validation and standard selling price system. It's of course a good design, right? Because you know that the always when you enter a system price, and it has to match with the validated with the what is given in the what is given in the system, that should be done. So that therefore it is also the design is there, and also it says that the operate consistently, but system rules are not updated again, right? Again, it is implemented, right? It is implemented, but there is a question of operating effectiveness at a given time. It's also operating, but it's not 100%, not 100% effective, but certain extent effectiveness is there. You can't say 100% not effective. The person, of course, not effective at all, right? Then the third one, Control C was performed, but two exceptions were noted. Monthly reconciliation, of course, it is a design, right? And it is implemented properly. Again, the Control C also, there is a effectiveness problem where it is not properly implemented at a given point of time. So this is the answer. Now the examiner is asking what? Examiner is asking from you students, analyze the design, implementation, operating effectiveness of control A, B, and C. Which controls are designed effectively? Which controls are implemented but not operating effectively? Provide brief justification for each for 5 marks. So that, of course, that when it comes to final examination, student, this will be divided and given. So now when you are to write this, it will be divided and given. So therefore, it will be easy for at the final exam. But when you are to write this kind of an answer, I must say that you should have put a table like this, right? Then only you can tell the reasons properly and write it nicely. Tell me, student, did anyone who attended the mock paper has written using a table like this? If anyone has written by using the table, if anyone has written, that would have been a much better, right? Because much better presentations during the examination should be done. And always with that, writing the stories, tables, graphical presentations, analysis, chart, those will be much easier for you to give, right? You to give a much better answer. And sometimes we don't think this thing during the examination. You try to write, continuously writing. but you won't feel that for you to put it like a better presentation to the examiner in order to make him easy his life while reading the answers, right? So now, okay, so this is the question. What is the part B? And outline the nature of the deficiencies. Outline the nature of the deficiencies to communicate. Nature of the deficiencies to communicate to those charged with governance, including their impact of deficiencies. So what is this question, Sudan? Is simply examiner is asking what? Email. Management letter, right? Where you have the deficiencies, outline the nature of the deficiency. So when there is a deficiency, so you have to explain the nature, right? And then you have to look at the impact, and then you have to look at the recommendation. But in here, recommendation is not asked. Nature and the impact is being requested. So now, when so first we look at the answer for the part A, then it is easy for you all, right? So look at the answer. So this answer script will be available, will be uploaded by Sri Lanka very shortly. So this will be available to you all soon after this recording is done. They will email to you all, right? And the answer, so it is being given. It is being given. I told you that if you can put like a table, it is so nice, and it is so clear to the examiner. Appropriate, uh, appropriate, ensure contract compliance. So this kind of a short brief is needed, implemented, documented, and in place. Not effective, approval delegated informally without evidence, lack of audit trail, right? And then if you really see the control B, appropriate system-based validation, reduce manual error, implemented, but again partially effective, rules not updated. Appropriate, implemented, partially effective, as we discussed. So this kind of an elaboration would have been a much better during the examination, and also examiner tells the mark allocation. 1 mark for control for correct to classification and reasoning, 2 mark for clarity and linkage given to risk. Right. Right. So now examiner is asking as part B of the question, outline the nature of the deficiencies to communicate to those charged with governance, right? Those charged with governance, including the impact of those deficiencies. So now what happens here, if you look at this, give me a minute, students, 1 minute. I'll open another document. Right, sorry. The answer, question B is asked, outline the nature of the deficiencies to communicate to those charged with governance, including the impact of those deficiencies. So you have to write the nature of the issue and also the impact. Now, if you look at the first one, deficiency is what? So control A is there, revenue manager checking is there, but it was delegated to a revenue manager, so delegated to a person informally without an evidence. Then what is the impact? Impact would be the revenue is misstated, because if someone has not properly checked that, and person who has been assigned is not engaged with that, right? Person has not engaged that, right? So it has, if that particular person has not done, person who has been delegated, obviously there will be a misstatement in the revenue. right? Contract is not properly entered to the system. That's some impact. So in the examination student, this internal control are very easy. So if the examiner is asking always giving a control, and what if it is not there, what is the impact? It's the other side of the story. No? If why this purpose, why this control is there to ensure the contract is entered properly. If that is not there, mean impact mean that will not be entered properly. So there will be unauthorized changes, right? Unauthorized changes will take place to the system in terms of the contract. That's possible. That's the impact. Second one, the systems have not been updated. When the systems are not updated, your revenue will be again misstated. Pricing will go wrong in the system. Say in the put city, So you buy this water bottle. This water bottle, the price has been not updated. It was in the old price, but the price has now been changed. What will happen? The revenue is wrong in the put city. So that kind of a thing. Third one, but two exceptions were not exceptions were noted and not escalated. All right. So if these things are not reported to the correct pipeline or a correct person, so what will happen? This errors are being accumulated. Uh, in the system, and those are not being addressed by anyone. That is where student this kind of exception. That is where this internal auditors are coming into the scene. And always internal audit is important. That is why, in order to avoid the escalation, I would say the accumulation of issues. So therefore, that would be the impact. So the first one impact will be the revenue is not entered properly, or agreement is not entered, or contract is not entered, unauthorized changes. The second one is the revenue will be misstated because the rules are, or the pricing has not been updated. Third one is accumulated exceptions will result or will be available in the system, right? So that will be the answer. But I hope that you would have written the answer. These are the examiners in Sri Lanka giving the answers for those. Sorry, what? Again, all right, it's there, right? So answers given by the Sri Lanka like this. Yeah, control A, it's like operating failure and absence of documented approval during the delegation period. This is a high risk as there is a potential for unauthorized or incorrect contract entry. Control B, it is a design maintenance gap, system rules not updated for pricing changes, incorrect SSP allocation could lead to a revenue misstatement. You don't have to have exact wording, student, but of course the idea should be there. Control C, operating weakness, exception identified but not escalated. There is a risk of accumulation of unresolved discrepancies. Escalation procedures to be strengthened. Right. Right. That's the question number 2, student. Do you have any questions? Any question? I saw one question. I'll answer that. What is the question? Could you explain the control B in Sinhala? The control B එකේ කියන්නේ මොකක්ද දන්නවද? දැන් control B එකේ කියන්නේ අර system එකේ pricing එක. දැන් food city හොඳම උදාහරණයක්. food city තියෙනවා food city එකේ water bottle එක ගත්තාම ඒක මේ කියලා price එක enter කරන්නේ නැහනේ. හරි. ඒ price එක automatically pick කරනවා. දැන් price revision එකක් ඇවිල්ලා system එක update කරේ නැත්නම් මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ? මේකේ barcode එක වදින්නේ පරණ price එකමයි. ඒතර validation process එක හරියට කෙරෙන්නේ නැහැ. හරියට pricing check එකක් කෙරෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ වගේ එකක් තමයි. ඒකම නෙවෙයි මෙතන තියෙන්නේ. මේ වගේ සමාන කතාවක් තමයි මෙතන තියෙන්නේ. හරි ඒ check up එක මාර critical. ඒ වුණත් මොකද වෙන්නේ? revenue එක වැරදිනවා. ඔක තමයි impact එක. ඔක තමයි examiner අහන්නේ impact එක explain කරන්න කියලා. So now this kind of a question, student, it is not really required for you to right elaborate or give an answer the way Sri Lanka has given. It really matters for you to have the points, idea, substance, meaning. That's all. So therefore, if your answer is not there in the suggested solution given by Sri Lanka, or if your answer is not there in the answers given by your lecturer, so don't worry about that. You look at the point. This is where the auditing paper discussion participation is important. Sometimes if you just read the suggested solution, what will happen? You may think that If that is not there, my answer is wrong. No. Auditing, there are some alternative answers. All alternative answers are not given in the suggested solution. Alternative answers, there, that is where you have to listen to the lecturer and understand what kind of a thought process behind this question. Then you will figure out your question is correct or answer is correct or whether it will be accepted by the examiner or not. But if you look at the management accounting, if you look at the financial reporting, intangible asset of fair valuation of investment property at fair value, you cannot write the cost and all the story. It is fair value. If it is a fair value model, right? That's straightforward theory. But when it comes to auditing, no. Audit procedures. If you look at the inventory audit procedures, depending on the situation, depending on the person, depending on the judgment, procedure may change. So therefore, there is no hard and fast rule that all are except the suggested solution answer, all others are wrong. No. So as far as possible, if you are justify your answer with the logical judgment, marks will be given. Remember, your papers are being marked by chartered accountants, not the school. I mean, advanced level teachers or other one is chartered accountants. So chartered accountant may know this all this, and also especially auditing papers are being marked by the chartered accountant in practice. So they know that one. You can't tell so many stories and expect the marks because you obviously know that papers are going to be marked by a well-educated person in the subject matter. So therefore, so just because of your question, your answer is not there, don't be happy. And if you have any different answer, you let me know. I will tell you that whether it is acceptable or not. You can't say it is a design or a in the control A. It is designed properly because that he in the he has it has to be reviewed by manager. There should not be two review managers. So say bank reconciliation should be done. Bank reconciliation is done is the control, right? In absence of the person who does the bank reconciliation, it is done by someone else. Is not the control designing issue. Control is perfect. It's kind of a implementation. I would say operating effectiveness. It's not the design. Good example, bank rec. Bank rec is a perfect control, right? So something similar like this. Can you tell the target areas, please? This is not the right time now, right? We have a lot to do today till 11 o'clock of so many questions. If I start up target areas, that will take about another 2 hours. Let us see that target areas in another day. Oh, probably the target areas. See, with the toward the end of the session, I can tell you a few things. If not that, normally I issue a target area table before the examination. 1 week before the examination, that also you can refer the it will be available in the social media and all with so many places. But if I have a time, I will try to cover up today after the session, but it take little time. Hurry. Right. So basically we'll coming into the next one of question number 3. Question number 3, assurance engagement. It's not a difficult question and very simple question. But here in this paper, student, question number 6 and 7 are good. Huh? So therefore, don't go. So we have a lot to discuss in terms of question number 6 and 7. Right. So you are a manager in a firm of chartered accountants. A client requests services related to their quarterly financial statements. First of all, you need to look at the required part. Using the framework for assurance engagement, analyzed, right? Analyze whether this engagement meet the criteria, for assurance engagement. Key consideration before accepting the engagement like ethical, competence, scope, clarity, and all that. There are 5 marks. And part B of the question is apply the Sri Lanka standard on related services, agreed upon procedures, explain the nature of the AUP engagement in this context, outline reporting responsibility for AUP engagement. Right. We look at the first part of the question. First part of the question, it says, you are a manager in a firm of chartered accountants. A client requests services related to the quarterly financial information. The circumstances are the client wants limited assurance over selected KPIs for a loan covenant. They also request specific procedures on inventory valuation and receivables aging. The client is a long-standing audit client, but this engagement is separate from the statutory audit. No independent threats identified, but the client insists in a very tight timeline. What is the story, student? We'll coming back to in our basic diagram of basic triangle, audit trigone, right? So into this diagram, if you look into you are managing a firm of chartered accountant. This is a chartered accountancy firm. A client requests services related to the quarterly financial statement. Now, this client has a request you to services. Now, they have asked the services in relation to the inter-quarterly financial information. The client was a limited assurance of the selected KPIs. So, the limited assurance on KPIs for a loan covenants. Loan covenants mean when you are getting a loan from a bank and the bank will put some conditions. And toward the end of the time or in between, sometimes the bank need an assurance report on this loan, whether these loan covenants have been complied or not. Bank when nagatama in night adalava conditions. The kondesi sampurna karandone client. ඒ කොන්දේසි සම්පූර්ණ කරනවාද නැද්ද කියලා තහවුරු කරන්න සහතිකයක් assurance එකක් සමහරලාට බැංකුවෙන් ඉල්ලනවා. That is kind of assurance. The client wants a limited assurance over selected KPIs for a loan covenant, right? Client wants a limited assurance over selected KPIs for a loan covenants. Other one, they also request specific procedures on inventory valuation and receivable aging. So specific, right? Specific procedures needed for, right, inventory valuation, also debtors aging. So kind of a specific procedures. Now one is the interim, while the interim financial informations are being reviewed, they want a limited assurance on the KPI and specific report on the inventory valuation and the aging. The client is a long-standing audit client, but the engagement is separate from the statutory audit. Now we currently carry out the statutory audit of this client. And no independent threats are identified, but the client insists on a very tight timeline. Client insists on a very tight timeline. So that's the information available as of now. Now, examiner is asking the part one of the question, whether this engagement meet the criteria for an assurance engagement. What do you think? Yes or no? Whether this engagements comes with the assurance definition what we learned or not. What do you think? Others quickly answer. Some say yes, some say no. Some say yes. Not assurance. No. No, no. This is where the student, yes, this is where the student sometime see Sri Lanka examiner is so cunning, right? Examiner is applying so much of strategies to like divert your attention. Now you have to have a conscious mind or a reading mind. So when you are talking about the assurance, when you are talking about the assurance definition, you know that you have a crest, right? You have to see whether the crests are going to be satisfied on this arrangement. So now you need to understand this is a client request services. Anyone notice this? Client request services, not a one service, right? It is a kind of a services. There are two services being requested. One is limited assurance over KPI and specific procedures of inventory and the debtors aging are two different two complete different uh, two complete different things, right? So students, now first one say limited assurance over selected KPIs for a loan governance, whether can be done or not. Well, we'll see whether this tripart relationship is there or not. When it comes to selected KPIs, management is there, auditor is there, bank is there. So that tripart relationship is there. Then we'll say subject matter is there or not. Yeah, because limited assurance over selected KPIs. KPIs is what? Subject matter. Evidences should be gathered, report should be given. Criteria, yes, criteria is available in the bank agreement. So therefore, remember this one assurance can be provided, right? Now, when it comes to the specific procedures or inventory valuation or aging student, what happened? Are there any tri-party? No, there is no tri-party. It is only requested by the client. Is there a subject matter? Yeah, subject matter is the inventory and the aging. But whether it's an appropriate subject matter, definitely you can't give an opinion by performing certain procedures on inventory. And evidences can be gathered, report can be issued, but definitely there are no criteria, external or internally published criteria. So therefore, this particular task won't come under the right, won't come under the assurance definition. Right, that kind of an elaborative answer is required during the examination. It's asking whether this engagement meet the criteria for an assurance engagement. Yes, for KPI, but not for others. That is the answer. And key consideration before accepting the engagement, the examiner has given the answer itself, right? So you have to see before accepting any engagement, you have to see the ethical compliance, competence, scope, clarity, the resources, right? Resources, timing. Can you remember those things? No need to think about the theory, student. Just think it over. If you are an auditor, now say I'm the audit partner of one of the audit and one of the engagement. One of my clients comes and say me, can you can you uh, undertake this assignment? What I mean saves ganna puluwand. What I do, what I do sometimes I evaluate a certain thing whether I can take it or not. That's day-to-day life I do. What I look at, I have to see whether am I complying with ethics? Am I have a caliber in doing that one? What is the scope? Am I having a resources of doing that? Whether this timeline, they are already in tight timeline. Whether this within this timeline, whether I can perform, or what kind of a risk are there, students? Right? There are various aspects that you have to see. So those angles will have to be looked into, right? So if you look at the answer given by the we'll look at the next part also and come back. Apply Sri Lanka standard on related premises, agreed upon procedures, explain the nature of an AUP agreement in this context. Now, what is the nature of an AUP, students? What is the nature? AUP in always, it is kind of, you are doing something on request, right? You are performing on agreed work. In a AUP agreement, agreed upon procedure engagement, of whatever the things that you are asking, I do it. Right? Whatever the things that you are asking, I'm doing it, agreed upon. And I do not provide no assurance. No assurance that I won't provide an assurance. And also I apply the Sri Lanka standard on related services. What is the standard number? What is the number? Tankal again. Yeah, for 2410. Who is that? Who is that in that? 2410. Not that 4410 also. That is 4400. 2410 is what? It is review engagements. Interim financial information. This is 4400. 4410 is what? It is the 4410 is the comparison engagement. Students, if you don't have a big picture of the walata assurance engagement or service okkama mind map එක මතක නැත්තම්, if you cannot remember the Assurance engagement mind map. So I request to the Sri Lanka Online Academy. There is a YouTube video which I have done about 3 years ago for CL1 student. Still that video is valid. Please have a look on that. Please, because you will have you need to have a very comprehensive understanding of this mind map. So assurance engagement divided into two and all this categorization. If you don't have this diagram understanding, 10 marks at the exam from assurance engagement. So please be careful. So I'm requesting you. So it's freely available for all of you at the Online Academy of Sri Lanka YouTube channel. My video on this assurance engagement, which I have done about 3 years ago, 2022 and I towards, but still valid of all these context has not changed drastically for your exam, but obviously those will not be applicable for the new syllabus now. The new syllabus is going to be fantastic for the auditing pillar and really fantastic and obviously student. So the new syllabus of auditing. So you have the CL3 new subject of auditing, and then you have the subject of SL 3.1, 3.2, another two auditing subject. You are going to get into a comprehensive one, such a beautiful knowledge in the auditing field with a lot of practical expertise will be bringing into you all in this new syllabus. If you look at into the CL new subject CL3 auditing paper, I have already gone through the entire syllabus and studied by now. And what I see is that, so I'm so happy to teach that subject also because the students, it's a really passionate about auditing, and the real global auditing has been brought by Sri Lanka. It's a really an appreciation for Sri Lanka on bringing such a subject into the Sri Lanka curriculum. And it has now, say, even for a this context student, for example, say carrying out an audit procedure, it's, audit procedure you can't check now manual, everything is automated. And how automation action is linked, how automated process, how that procedures can be done in automated way. For example, audit risk assessment we don't do in manually now, we do through the lot of big data analytics and all that technology. How that technology is used and do it. And also sustainability angle is a massive and superb subject. But the risk factor is, if you unfortunately not pass this time, you are going to go for a problem. So therefore, you have to pass, right? So now don't think that I want to get a much bigger knowledge, therefore I will do the exam next time. Don't do that. You have another subject in 3.1 and 2 for auditing. So you have to do somehow pass this one. If you fail, you are going to have problem in the new subject. You have to learn a lot of new principles and new things. Then again, the strategic level student 3.1 and 3.2 advanced audit and professional practice, as well as the advanced risk management and corporate governance. Such a brilliant subjects are coming in. Right? Such a beautiful and a lot of, even you can't imagine the world where it is trending, and all those principles are now in our CA curriculum. Advanced governance, for example, like Mr. Ambika Pereira at the boardroom, how he thinks about the assurance engagement, how he thinks about the risk management, how he thinks about the governance, how he thinks about the ethics. It's a massive and the superb subject. Actually, I'm so happy to see that content student. It is like a next gen, I would say, but the next level chartered accountant is going to be produced through the new syllabus. That is for sure. All right. I can guarantee for the auditing pillar subject where the brilliant knowledge contents have been brought in, and a lot of practical expertise. And also, the auditing, all auditing subjects shouldn't going to be open book. As of now, it's a closed book, but it's going to be open book. That is another good initiative. But I will guarantee under the new syllabus student 21, definitely the this particular subject, even though those are open book, you don't have to bring any open book material to the examination hall, because that such an interesting understanding can be taken, and that I would say that understanding itself will give you the question answers for the question, not uh, the books and all, because it's a kind of a practical application that the Sri Lanka has brought into the subject. So then you don't have to refer to the books. If you know the theoretical principles and what the practical application, you will be able to uh, pass at the or the right at the examination. So I just added a comment to you with regard to the this syllabus change, and that's you can understand the way what I'm explaining student the new syllabus, so that I feel that that's the profession is going to be changed from this new syllabus. A lot of applications are new, and it's really good for the CA profession and for the future of CS. Right. So now, students, now AUP 4400, an outline reporting responsibilities of AUP agreement. So, what kind of uh, outline reporting responsibilities for AUP agreement? So, what the reporting, what the audit report, what the report has to come. So, in the report, you need to have what procedures that you have done, and what is the outcome. And you have to say that no assurance has been done, no assurance has been made. So those are kind of a main reporting requirements of a UP report. So I'm sorry that I will not be able to remind the theory you now, but that would be the answer uh, in the examination. Right. So see, the examiner also has told that the yes for the KPI review and three-part relationship, subject matter, suitable criteria, and all these explain. And key consideration, ethical compliance, competence, scope, clarity, timing, risk. What are the factors to be considered? And then the agreed upon procedures. Basically, practitioner performs specific procedures agreed with the client. No assurance is expressed, and 4,400. And the report must describe the procedures performed, restriction on use, or no conclusion or no opinion being made. Right, we are moving to the next question, student. Now almost 2 hours coming, but let us finish another question and take a small break. But question number 4. Okay, do you have any question from the question number 3? Prashna Dhinade? Any problem? No question. That's the one question. What is that? Now there's a question asked. Is there any compulsory question on assurance engagement? I think you have not looked at the past papers. First of all, you look at the past papers, right? And if you have not looked at the past papers, and if you haven't looked into the past analysis, kind of analysis of the previous examination, if you are now going to do the examination in 18 to 17 student, by now you have looked at the past papers. But if you have seen the past paper, you won't ask this question, right? Because almost all the examination papers, assurance engagement is there. That is a 10% weightage of the syllabus coverage, and without any past paper, can you see, and without assurance engagement? Right. Okay, if you the second one is answer. So if you have not seen the past papers, I mean from today night itself, soon after the session, stop all the studies. Look at the past papers, at least last 4 past papers, and do independently, right? And that is my strong advice. So you have to look into the past papers. If you haven't looked into the past papers, it's very tough, the examination. So time is more than enough now. 2 weeks is there. So at least 4 past papers, please attend your independently by yourself and look at the Sri Lanka answers and suggest solutions are there, and get a comparison on what kind of a questions are coming and up to what extent you can deliver. So if you have an issue with regard to the right, if you have any problem in your answer writing or anything, you can always contact me, and I will support you as to the level that I can, as much as possible, right? Okay. What are the other question? So as well as assurance engagement, what are the other chapters that come every time? I think those things, student, you should look into the past papers. Now, by 2 weeks before the examination, if you don't know what and what areas are going every examination, So first of all, you need to look at the past papers and then get ready in a such a strategic or such a smart manner. Then only you will be able to pass the exam. So please, I'm requesting you. So please have a look on the past papers first and look at and identify what and what areas every time coming. That when you read, you will yourself will be able to identify, right? And write the answers. If you need any personal attention from me, so you can always write and send one question to me. So I'll give my number, WhatsApp number toward the end of the session. And whatever the level that I can support during the next 2 weeks, I will support you. So part one, they discussed interim financial and why we have not addressed in LKS 34 KPIs, which can't be accepted. It is kind of again, I would say, it's kind of misleading information to you all. They're talking about the interim information and telling something else. So therefore, the examiner's expectation was to answer for the KPI review and the valuation part, not to the interim. And they are just telling that they are in the process of interim financial statement review. Yes, part A says should be state that the other services are not assurance engagement and the state absence element of the, yeah, that has to be told. That I told during the discussion of class, but the Sri Lanka answer, it doesn't include, it has not been added that the uh, added, but that has to be added. I already explained, so that has to coming in because there are, first of all, you need to identify these are two different engagements. So the two different engagements should be explained. That's the much better answer. But then I will tell the Sri Lanka, the education division, to add this one also into the answer. But while I'm explaining, I told you that this has to be addressed in that way, right? Okay, clear. Get back to the scene. Right. So we are coming into the another good area, students, another important area, that is quality management. Very important. And sometimes this is an highly testable area, right? And also you are aware that students, Sri Lanka started on quality management 1 and 2 and now being applicable in Sri Lanka, now being applicable for your examination as well. So quality management is the latest knowledge. You need to have a good understanding. There will be a 10 marks definite question from the quality management. If you haven't learned the Sri Lanka started on quality management 1 and 2, so I request you to look at the not the study text, right? Study text doesn't have this new knowledge. Study text has the Sri Lanka started on quality control 1. But thereafter, Sri Lanka issued a supplementary material on this revised knowledge of the quality management 1 and 2. If you have learned the theoretical aspect of quality control of the what is given in the study text, it has now been amended by Sri Lanka about 1 year ago with these two documents, right? So therefore, whoever doing the examination on 17th, I strongly recommend you to have a good understanding of the quality management like assurance engagement because, right? Right? So therefore, you need to have a kind of a, would say, good understanding in terms of the quality management, right? So the required part of the examiner is telling examiner three quality control procedures that should be implemented at the audit engagement level based on the facts provided in the scenario. When an engagement quality control review, engagement quality control, but nowadays we are not using this word called control, student. I think this is maybe a typing mistake that the examiner has put, but engagement quality review. So Q is not, sorry, C, EQR. C is not used now under the new standard, would be necessary. So three quality control procedures that should be implemented at the audit engagement level. When you're talking about the quality management, students, now we are talking not the quality control, but now we are talking about the quality management. When you're talking about the quality management, when you're talking about the quality management, right? When you're talking about the quality management, So we always look at the two level. One thing is the firm level, right? The firm level. Other one is the engagement level, right? Engagement level. So this is a very crucial. You need to have an understanding. Let's say I'll take an example. Our firm. So we as a firm, we have 10 partners, right? We 10 partners and 300 staff. So what happens here? We as a firm take as one unit, right? One unit, and we have a certain quality management techniques which applicable for all the staff and all the clients. Let's say 1,000 clients, and all 1,000 clients or 1,000 engagement will have one quality control procedures. Those are at firm level. But if we carry out the audit of JKH audit, and JKH audit level, we have to have a quality management things that is called engagement level quality management. So that we need to have a very clear cut understanding, right? Because examiner may ask the quality at the engagement level or quality at the firm level. So this separation should be there, right? And right. So we'll look at now and what kind of three control, what the examiner is asking the quality control procedures, three quality control procedures that should be implemented at the engagement level. So that means very specific, right? Very specific thing to the engagement that should be there, right? And when an engagement quality reviewer would be necessary, that you are aware that I will explain later when you should be there. Right? We'll read the scenario now. So your audit firm has been engaged. Your audit firm has been engaged to audit a large multinational company that recently expanded into the several new markets. So your firm has engaged into the large multinational company. The client's financial statement include complex estimates for inventory valuation and foreign currency transactions. The engagement team consists of mix of experienced staff and several new hires, as usual in audit firm. The audit time is tight. Audit timeline is tight because the client wants to finalized before a major investor presentation. The CFO emphasized how critical is to for the company to show strong results of this year to seek further adding funding. During planning, the engagement partner notices that some junior team members have limited experience with the foreign accounting and inventory valuation. Quality issues, right? So later, CFO invite the engagement partner to an exclusive industry event at a luxury resort, suggesting it would be a great opportunity to strengthen the relationship. The client is also one of the top revenue contributors, right? Okay, what the examiner is asking now, three quality control procedures that should be implemented at the audit engagement level, right? So what answers, student? What do you think? By given the scenario, what kind of one quality management procedures or quality control procedures should be there in the engagement level? Can you tell me one? Can you drop a text in the chat box? At least one. So what kind of a control mechanisms is needed at the engagement level? Yeah, supervision is needed. Very crucial or a very important point. Monitoring is needed. Yes, that's correct. Supervise the team members who have the lower level of experience. Yeah, correct. Ethical requirement. Establish a quality objective, but those are very broad answers. Very odd answers. Leadership also a firm or audit. Leadership for an audit is correct, but leadership is not for the firm. Consultation correct. Appoint the experienced team and looking at the resources and assigning a good team. Yeah, that's correct. I'm happy that to see that those answers review. And most important point, as you some of you have already commented, student, what is most important is that you need to have a proper review, supervision, direction, monitoring. It has to be there. Most crucial because the people are new mix of experience and the new hires, and junior team members, and all those informations have been given that the people are not caliber. So therefore, there should be a supervision. Also, there should be a proper review taken place, right? Also, there should be a proper direction taken place. So these are some of the three principles that we mainly learn under the engagement level quality under the SLA US. Can you remember? SLA US 220 revised. SLA 220 revised standard. We are talking about this 220 standard. We are talking about the engagement level quality management, and sometimes the consultation, if they don't know, consultation should be taken place. And also the very important thing, the assigning the resources, right? That is very crucial. And also the leadership of engagement partner, he must take up the responsibility, and he should take up some uh, responsibility of assigning the team members and technology utilization. Likewise, there are various aspects. And also, student, there should be a proper monitoring mechanism. There should be a proper monitoring mechanism. Also, there should be a proper documentation, right? These are there in the theory, not straightforward in the theory. Theory, given in the study text, also is straightforward. Supervision, review, direction should be there. And also signing resources, consultations, leadership, and monitoring, documentation. Very straightforward answers. Those are straightforward from the theory, right? Then the second one, where an engagement quality control review would be necessary. Obvious for listed companies. Obviously, you are aware that listed companies, there should be engagement quality reviewer. Control won't come. Huh? Also, sometime if it is required by law, if any laws or regulations says that the EQR is needed, this is there in the standard law. Oh, sometime a firm risk assessment. According to the firm risk assessment procedures, it feels that is a quality reviewer is needed. Then all three circumstances, obviously, there should be a quality reviewer coming into the place as per SLSQM, Sri Lanka Standard on Quality Management, number 2. Right, so these are the answers given by the examiner. So direction, supervision and review, competence and assignment, consultation, documentation, and monitoring and timing, right? And what are the situations they are needed? High risk engagement, complex estimate, significant judgment, major client revenue, try is EQR. So that when there is a complex assignment, obviously EQR is needed. Right, part B says, students, I know that you are very tired now for 2 hours and 15 minutes, 2 hours listening, but let me to finish this question and then go for a short interval time, right? So therefore, listen to this one now. When it is becoming difficult only, we should concentrate. Okay, analyze 3 potential ethical threats faced by the engagement partner in the situation related to the fundamental principles of professional ethics. Examiner is asking the 3 potential ethical threats. So 3 potential ethical threats faced by the engagement partner. Other one, recommend one appropriate safeguard. Each of the threats are identified from the code of ethics, right? From the code of ethics, students, code of ethics 2025 or the previous version, doesn't matter. So code of ethics. So potential ethical threats faced by the engagement partner with the fundamental principle and the safeguard. Now, what do you think? Can you quickly put a message? What kind of threats are there? Self-interest, familiarity, and self-interest, intimidation, not intimidation, intimidation. Okay, high fees percentage, right? So we'll quickly look at those correct answers. Most of your answers are correct. What it says is, so your audit firm has been engaged in the audit of a large manufacturing company that recently expanded into several new markets. The client finance statement include a complex estimates for inventory valuation, foreign currency transaction. The engagement team consists of a mixed experienced staff and several new hires. The audit timeline is tight because the client wants to report the finalized before a major investor presentation. It is right. And CFO emphasized that how critical it is for the company house and show strong results of the year is a sequel adding funding. So that means what is this, student? What is this? Tight timeline is what? It is a kind of a intimidation, right? It's a kind of intimidation. So you have been asked that you have been asked to achieve within the timeline, achieve within timeline. So it's a pressure given to you to complete on time that will divert your fundamental principles sometime. During the planning, the engagement partner noticed that some junior team members have limited experience with foreign currency accounting and inventory system. Later, CFO invite engagement partner to exclusive industry event at a luxury resort. Luxury resort, right? So it's a self-interest is coming in and suggesting it would be a great opportunity to strengthen the relationship. The client is also one of the top revenue contributors. Again, the self-interest. That self-interest is there. Here also self-interest is there. Here of intimidation. And also another thing, your audit firm has been engaged in, right? Has been engaged. So looks impression is given like the client, the company is conducting audit for this particular audit for some time. There obviously looks like based on the information given here and bringing into the luxury resorts and all. So looks like they have a familiarity threat as well, right? Looks like they have a familiarity threat as well. So familiarity threat is there, intimidation is there, self-interest is there in both the circumstances. Right now, so what kind of right? So what kind of actions can be taken for this? Obviously, you know that the luxury resort one, of course, what you have to do is you can go to luxury resort relationship. Sorry, luxury resort. The event, can you attend? Do you like to attend? Yeah, you like, but right, you like, but still, even though you like, as per the code of ethics, you are being chartered accountants. Now I am in the CA premises. When you come to here itself, you feel that you are a chartered accountant, and we have our basic ethics for us to comply. We will never compromise our ethics. So then obviously this will be declined, right? Offer will be declined. And when you look at this over dependency of the fees, top performing revenue contribution, so what you can do? So probably you will be able to have a kind of an independent review in place, right? In review in place, and so that kind of things can be done. And sometime familiarity, what you can do? Familiarity, you can partner can be rotated, partner rotation can be done. So those things can be performed, right? So that's not a difficult question, students. So straightforward, and I hope that you will be able to you would have been able to answer at the examination. One is the ethical threats is self-interest. Client is a major revenue sources. Pressure to retain the client may be impair the objectivity. You have to connect into the always to the fundamental principle. And familiarity threat, long-standing relationship and social invitation could create bias. Yeah. Intimidation, CFO emphasize on a strong resource and tight timeline may pressure partner to compromise the independency. That's another problem. And what kind of a safeguards is available? Decline or limit the hospitality that you decline. That's very crucial. If there is any kind of if it is something above the clearly trivial, that you have to decline. Escalate concern to the firm ethics or a compliance function. Apply EQR, rotate engagement partner, and document all decisions. Right. So students, so we had, so can we write the recent change in code of ethics, high percentage of sale, recent changes? Uh, yeah, so that also it's not a kind of a very much larger change that you can write it, but not a very significant change. Is it okay to if we answer part B and 1 and 2? Yeah, you can write together, but it's much better always putting it to the table format and have a better presentation. So that would be a much better in terms of that. Okay, so we have now 2 hours continuously listen to me, students. I know that you are very tired now. So we'll take up a 10 minutes to break, 10 minutes to break. And thereafter, I will take the question number 5 and the 6 and 7. Question number 6 and 7 are very good questions. Because question number 6 and 7, very good question. What I would say is there are a lot of information given. It takes a lot of time. And let us discuss in detail. after a 10 minutes break, right? And don't leave the meeting. Sometime when you leave the meeting, it will be difficult to come back. These Zoom issues and all there. So you can be stay in the meeting. Right, students. So let us continue. So I went to the here. The lot of students are studying in other side, and a lot of students having the examination of ABR also. So I met few of them, and I couldn't come out quickly without talking to them. So sorry for that. 1 second. Right. The let us go with the question number 4, students. Let's move into the question number 4. Question number 5. Sorry. The question number 5. So this is from the basically on digital auditing. So digital auditing is another area, students, mostly examiner will touch upon. So that is a 10% weightage, but even though 10% is not tested, sometime it is at least about 8 or 6 marks generally being tested as part of the MCQ or as part of the short scenarios. So therefore, you need to have a comprehensive understanding with regard to the digital application. But remember that always the digital application, the auditing part is one of the easiest question. So if you have not studied, so what I request is that what you can do is you can always look into the study text of the digital auditing part. There are about few pages in the study text, so have a look on that and have a good idea before the examination, because uh, there will be a definite question coming in the digital auditing as well, right? Because as per the syllabus coverage, that's 10% it is there, and it has been there in the past papers as well, right? Look at the required part of the question. First of all, the required part of the question, it says that the explain three implications of using RPA and blockchain on internal controls, and briefly explain how these affect to the external audit approach. A very important question, student, for 5 marks. And advice on the extent or to which the external auditor can rely on the work performed by the internal audit department in the scenario. That is a different question from the internal audit, but this part A of the question is from the RPA, robotic process automation, and blockchain on internal controls. So explain three implications using RPA and blockchain on internal controls, and briefly explain how these affect the external audit approach, right? Please provide 3 points on affect the audit approach for 5 marks. And so in my one of the observations, when this question should have been properly put to you all, dividing into two, otherwise you will get confused in your writing. And part B, of course, no problem. Right. So you are supposed to look at the implication of RPA and the blockchain on internal control and explain how these affect the external auditing approach. So let us read the question carefully. Question number 5. What it says is the audit firm is engaged to a large multinational retail group that has undergone a digital transformation. The company now uses the robotic process automation, that is theoretically is there in our study text, for invoice processing and payment approval, and has integrated to a blockchain-based supplier tracking system to enhance the transparency. Robotic process automation for invoice processing and payment approval. So RPA is there for invoice processing and the payment approval. Payment approval is automatically made, and there is no human intervention. And the large number of transactions can be executed through RPA, and has integrated a blockchain-based supply tracking system. Supply tracking system has been made because it's a large multinational retail group, and the nature of the business is so important. And a blockchain-based supply tracking system to enhance the transparency. You know that supply-based tracking system, uh, uh, blockchain. I will explain that later at the latter part of the question. The CFO emphasized that these innovations have significantly improved the efficiency and reduced manual errors. However, during the planning, the engagement partner notes that the blockchain system is still in its pilot phase and not fully integrated with the ERP system. It's in the pilot space and not integrated. And RPA bots were configured by an external vendor, and there is a limited documentation on change management. Internal auditors reviewed these systems and issued report, but their independence is questionable because they report operationally to the CFO. The external audit team has limited prior experience with blockchain technology, and the audit timeline for completing the audit is tight due to an upcoming investor presentation. Students, now one of the important hint that I want to tell you is, when you look at the digital environment questions, digital auditing question, most of the time answers are there in the question itself. The internal control and the digital environment, these two sections of the syllabus, student, contain the answers in the question itself. All right. So therefore, you need to always have a conscious reading of the question on the basis or on assumption that answers I'm going to find in the question itself, right? So now, first part of the question examiner is asking, explain 3 implications of using RPA and blockchain on internal control. What are the implication of, right, implication of blockchain on internal controls, and how briefly explain how this affect the external audit approach. So what is most important, student, you need to have a good idea that the examiner is asking a 2 action. One is, first point is that the explain 3 implication of using RPA and blockchain on internal control, and explain how these affect the external audit approach. All right. So now, what kind of an implication? You know, student, the RPA and the blockchain. I hope that you know the theory. I'm not going to explain the theory. Right? Robotic process automation means what? So it's kind of an automative task. Say you have set up the program in your system, the approval to be processed. If these criteria are fulfilled, automatically processing. You don't have to have manual intervention. For example, say a very simple example, say if the payments less than 5,000 rupees, and if the supporting document is attached and document amount is matched, automatically processing. There is no manual intervention or human intervention toward the process, and that will ensure what? That will ensure that the human errors are not there, and you can always you can have a higher number of things are being processed, and all those advantages are there. So blockchain means what, student? Always blockchain enhance the transparency. For example, if you do some kind of a transaction in a block through a blockchain, always what happens, it is recorded and not editable. You can't edit it. So if you now say in this kind of what it says in here is a blockchain we use for supply vendor management, like supply system, logistic system. What it says is blockchain based supply tracking system. It's like say a mass holding. Now mass holding, they are importing the fabric and they manufacture the fabric here and export to USA, right? So this entire supply chain, so importing and then again exporting back to USA from materials are imported from China, and then it is given to manufactured here and it is sent to Colombo port and it is from the New York, and there is a process. So all these, if you apply the blockchain-based supply tracking system, there are if you use in ChatGPT, you will give a lot of example for this in the blockchain-based supply tracking system. So there what happens is all are recorded. All are recorded in step by step. It is recorded. Say at when the goods came in and who got this one, when it is approved, and when it started the manufacturing, when it is delivered to the port, and everything. Tracking system is kind of a tracking. Like pick me on Uber, so you can track the place, know that you see the location, the goods are coming in the pick me, that you can track. It's a tracking system. So this tracking system use the blockchain. What is happened? It is uneditable. You can't edit. So what it gives you an impression, it's always, students, giving a transparency, right? Reliability, because it cannot be changed. We know that this is a transparent system. Otherwise, a supplier or a buyer in USA doesn't know what is happening to his good. it will come on it. But if the blockchain-based supplier tracking system is applied, what happens is that the buyer who is in USA can see that, okay, what is happening to my good, whether it is coming or not, any problem, right? Any climate problem, and then any disaster has come, and because of that, the manufacturing has stopped, and all these, right? All these can be tracked, tracked from the blockchain technology. So therefore, that ensure the transparency, right? And also transparency, and the robotic RPA will always ensure that the manual errors are not there, and also the unauthorized changes kind of a thing, and unauthorized approval. Nothing can be done. It's everything is automated. Actually, RPA will ensure the errors are less. Blockchain will supply-based blockchain tracking system will ensure the transparency. This is the implication. RPA always reduce the errors, and high number of transactions can be processed in a short period of time. There is advantage, and always with the RPA, as we learn, as you learn in the study text, and blockchain is always giving a more greater confidence, right? Transparency over the whatever the system. This is a blockchain. Here is given an example for supply tracking system, but the blockchain can be used even for other locations. And there are a lot of blockchain, like even currency network. If you look at it, the blockchains are there, right? So, for example, say a lot of blockchain platforms are there. Blockchain is kind of a very larger concept like AI. Say we are talking about the AI, so we think all the chat GPTs there. No, so there are so many AI platforms, AI apps, AI options are there. So it's also blockchain. Also, it's a wider coverage, and like wider coverage, and we sometimes the currency like cryptocurrencies are being involved. Like there are various applications of the blockchain, but you don't have to have that kind of advanced knowledge for the auditing paper, but you need to have an understanding. Companies use the blockchain. Companies use the blockchain technology into in their business process transactions, and that will ensure the greater confidence and greater accuracy of the transaction, greater record of the transaction. So those things need to be aware by you as far as the company's perspective. Also, auditors' perspective, we being the auditors have to have a knowledge about the blockchain technology, how it is being used. So that kind of a knowledge is enough, and you don't have to have a very big level understanding of the blockchain, that you can get it after you qualified. Right. So when this RP and the blockchain is there, student, how this affect to the external audit approach? Obviously, if the RP and the blockchains are there, mean external audit approach also will have to be changed. So why external audit approach will have to be changed is, so you can't go by traditional methodology of vouching, traditional verification of source document, and these won't work. So traditional, you have to come out from the traditional application, and then you have to apply the sophisticated digitalization based auditing techniques, right? Digital based auditing techniques when you are dealing with the RP and the blockchain. This RP and the blockchain, when the clients are used, if the auditor has not adopted the correct approach using the technology, what will happen? Auditor is not efficient, and he will not be able to gather sufficient appropriate audit evidences with regard to the company systems, and then accordingly express our opinion, right? So therefore, when you are looking at the RP and the blockchain, auditors approach should be, student, remember, right? So normally we will look at the IT controls in heavily ITGC, right? ITGC and IT application control. So both the things, right? IT control, ITGC, IT application control should be looked into very seriously by the auditor. And it is basically we apply the combined approach. In the combined approach, you know that the TOC and the limited substantive procedures you are performing. So this is the model that we are taking in. But remember, this is an advanced version of this model, is more toward the technology reliance. So you look at the technology, you verify the technology, you have the IT expertise bringing into your audit team, and you accordingly giving more attention, right? More attention to the information technology control. And also you need to bring this specialist. You need to bring this specialist to the audit team. You are not a blockchain specialist. You are not an RPA specialist. You are not an IT audit specialist. You have to bring a certain specialist into the audit team and enhance their competency in terms of client application and enhance the knowledge of the other team members, up to specialist is needed. Now we are talking about the student. We are talking about the specialist. When it comes to property, we know that the property value has to come. We are talking about the actual valuation. The actual value should be there, and sometime uh, say when you're talking about the legal matter, lawyer should be there. When there are IT matter also, there should be a information technology related especially, so that has to coming in. So that's one other thing, this thing. And also, but then again, need to remember this is a bit of a tricky question. That is what I'm explaining in detail now. And also, students, sometime you are okay, you are looking at IT controls, also you are looking at some of the specialists, right? You are looking at IT controls, and you are looking at the specialist. And but remember, technology cannot replace the auditors as of now. Technology cannot replace the judgment of the auditor in 100%. Even though you rely on the controls of IT controls, you are looking at the TOC into the controls of IT reliance, that doesn't mean that you cannot come out for the substantive procedures. For example, say you are looking at the payment process to the RPA, that doesn't mean that you can come out, you should avoid of taking the bank confirmation. Limited substantive procedures will have to be performed. It is mandatory to be performed. So what will happen is how this will affect the external approach is you will go to more IT reliance through the specialist, but you will perform only substantive procedures to fill the gap. Definitely there will be substantive procedures to be performed, but that is limited. So these are the examiner's expectation, student, as far as the external approach is concerned. All right. External approach is concerned. So always you have to look at the controls reliance approach with the specialist, but gap will have to be filled through the uh, substantive procedures. Again, we are coming to the combined approach. So combined approach, we are talking about this combined approach is always talking about the test of control and limited substantive. Same thing, test of control, we look the IT. That's all. So I hope that you understand, students. Any question? So we'll look at it, the answer given by the examiner. So answer for the mock 2025. Yeah, so this is the automotive question number 5. Impacts of the internal control and audit approach. What will be the internal control? The positive impact, automatic reduce the manual errors and risk of unauthorized changes. It's also reduced, and immutable transaction record blockchain, so that can be accessed, and it is a kind of an advantage. And next audit approach require more focusing on IT control testing with the IT involvement and digitalization. Use specialists for blockchain validation and apply the substantive procedures to fill the gap. Right, the next part of the question, student, the advice on the extent, advice on the extent to which the external auditor can rely on the work performed by the internal audit department in this scenario. It's a good question. So this is a 5% of your syllabus coverage, student. That is 5% of syllabus coverage is internal auditing. Basically, examiner will not go for a very comprehensive question from the internal audit of the current syllabus, but of course, new syllabus, there's a much greater coverage for the internal auditing. So advice on the extent to which the external auditor can, rely on the work performed by the internal audit department in this scenario, right? So up to what extent the internal auditor can rely on the work. So can you tell one thing? Can you answer me, student? Up to what are the factors to be considered, or what extent we can rely on the work? Can we rely on the internal auditor's work? Now, you know, students, when we carry out audit, right? When we carry out audit, so we utilize the internal auditor's work in our audit process, right? Right? You know, when the management of the company, they prepare the financial statement, and when they are given to the shareholders, shareholders do not trust the management, so therefore shareholders appoint a third-party person called auditor to come and check this finance statement and give a report. They simply call as auditing, as we learn. Now, students, what happened? Now, when this management, they have an internal auditor inside the company, and they carry out certain verification of the company and their financial statement. Internal auditor as being an external auditor, can we, since they have already checked certain thing, can we use this internal auditor's work in order to arrive at our conclusion? What is our conclusion? Our conclusion is in order to confirm whether the finance statement prepared by the management contain material misstatement or not. So in order to carry out that conclusion, in order to come out to that conclusion, can we use that internal auditor? Something like you are getting someone else, you are going to use someone else, right? Whether can we use that internal auditor's work? So now in this given context of the scenario, student, can we use now in order for the external auditor to use the internal auditor, there should be certain fundamentals fulfilled, right? This internal auditor at least should be some independent, right? At least they have a caliber in doing the certain things, right? And they have input, they have an independent reporting hierarchy. That kind of basic should be there, right? Otherwise, you cannot use that. But here the problem, student, what are the problem? It says internal auditors reviewed the systems and issued report, but their independence is questionable because the report operational the CFO no pointing, right? Reliance on the reports, what is reported to the operational leader, CFO, but they are operational leaders and they will not like of highlighting the issues by the internal auditor. They will not allow to happen. That it will be hidden. So then the external auditor comes and rely on those reports, useless. So therefore, there is an independency concern. So therefore, that is for, I don't think this can be relied. And one of the important point is independency requirement. And also number two, student, very crucial is the IT knowledge. Now we are talking about a lot of RPA and then the blockchain and all these information technology driven things in the company. But in order to verify those things as an internal audit team, do they have the competent resources? Do they have a competent skill of doing that? That we are not sure about. So therefore, these two factors, if you really look into that, right? If you really look into that, so, and also it says in that paragraph, let's say, the external team has limited prior experience with blockchain technology and the timeline for completing is tight due to an upcoming investor presentation. So it's highly unlikely that you can 100% rely on the internal department report. So now examiner expect you to write it, right? And advice on to the extent which the external can rely on the work performed by the internal department in this scenario limited because of that 2-3 factors, right? Now, say here key factors to be considered. So obviously, independence, and competence. Competence, that's also a question, and also work quality. So we don't know work quality what would be. We don't have any reasonable explanation given in the scenario in order to come to a conclusion the work quality is high. The auditor can use in auditor's work for primary understanding, but cannot fully rely on the independent, because this is the conclusion that you should have written at the exam, right? This is what a very crucial student. If you have written this one, if you have written this conclusion, you will get the marks, because you need to understand the examiner has devoted or examiner has given 5 marks. So you have to write your answer or content of the answer should fulfill the requirement of 5 marks, right? It's very crucial. You should fulfill requirement of 5 marks in order for you to get the full content of your answer should required or should match to 5 marks. So therefore, in this question, conclusion is important, and the safeguard, if it is not included, it even doesn't matter. But if you have written, it would have been much better. Because re-perform key test involve IT specialist, maintenance, keeping assignment, the document evaluation, and because the examiner has not and directly asked that you have to write the safeguard, advice on the extent to the which the external can rely on the work performed, that's, you can say that you cannot rely because of this reason. That's the answer. But because of the allocated marks are 5, you will have to write little bit of a more elaborated answer. That is why the examiner also has been given as a safeguard as well. So sometimes, student, we have to be really mindful to look at the number of marks allocated, even though answer is a small answer, straightforward answer. If the examiner has allocated more marks, then you have to write little bit of more content in the identified answer. Right. So finish that question. So do you have any further questions on this one before I go to the question number 6? That's a very good question. Question number 6. Any question? No question. So all are studying at the Sri Lanka, I can see. I don't know whether some of you are also maybe at CA premises. There are so many in the main hall, and hall is open till 12 o'clock. Library is closed at 8, but halls are open till 12 o'clock. A lot of students, those who are having family commitment, there are some commitment, they study at the main hall at the night time and the daytime. Actually, this period near the examination, it is a great support for the student by CA Sri Lanka, because I know the value of that, because when you can't concentrate the studies at home, sometimes you can't concentrate, mind is not focusing. Sometimes this would be the ideal place if you are nearby Colombo city. It's a good place. You can independently, this is your place, and motivation is there. Sometimes when you come here, we also come and go, you meet us, and some motivation is there. Some kind of a people are there to ask if you don't know anything. So it's a good opportunity, but that is only if you are nearby city limit. And also sometimes if you are more comfortable in studying at the home, then obviously continue the same pattern. Right, question number 6. It's a long question, but let us finish. Right. So question number 6, shall we look at the first required part of the question? Right. What it says is explain the procedures the present auditors perform in this initial engagement at CTE in respect of prior's qualification over capitalized brand development cost under LKS 38 for a 5 marks. Right. So it's a specific issue. So let us discuss that is. And then the second one, design specific audit procedures for the following areas at CTE and state the objective evidence out. You are required to provide 2 audit procedures for each of the area below. This is an unfair question, student. For 5 marks, you are right as 1, 2. Is this also wrong? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Numbering also wrong, right? It's a typing mistake. So now there are 5. And you are right to do 2 audit procedures, mean you will get only half mark for a 1 procedure. It is unfair, and I don't think this will come at this kind of a level thing come in the final exam. This is a bit of an unreasonable question. So it's giving a 1 audit procedure, 1 mark is reasonable. 1 mark is reasonable, but this what will happen is when you are to write like this, it's a time will get more, and that will be a disadvantage. But I'm pretty sure that don't come at the final exam. And apply your understanding on Sri Lanka auditing standard to determine likely report outcome with the justification in the relevant instances that we will see at the last. And then explain the auditor's responsibilities over the other information, report to the scenario about you need to consider 3 such responsibilities, right? So let us look at now. The question number 2 is asking to write the audit procedures. Question number 1 is asking what specific procedures for a special issue identified in terms of intangible asset. Question number 3. So question number 6. So Ceylon Tea Export PLC. Ceylon Tea Export PLC is the listed in the Colombo Stock Exchange. Crucial, student. Name of the company are very important, whether it's a PLC or a private limited, right? And also it is listed in Colombo. It's a PLC listed in the Colombo. Listed in the Colombo Exchange. It's very crucial. And its principal operation is manufacturing tea export. Nature of the business is so important. What is the nature of business? exporting, manufacturing tea for export. They are into the manufacturing of tea for export. Maybe there are a lot of tea export companies in Sri Lanka. It buys green leaf from smallholders, processes at its own factories, and sells bulk tea and branded retail packs to the local and export market. It's a manufacturing and exporting. You are the audit senior of Pereira and Company, newly appointed audit of CTE for the year ended 31st March 2025. Very crucial information, student. It's a newly appointed for the audit of ZT for the year ended 31st March 2025. You are a newly appointed auditor. Very critical information. So as I used to tell students, the name of the company is important. Nature of the business is important. And right, financial period is important. Third point, right? Whether it is a new audit or a existing audit is important. There are four information that you need to basically look into when you are analyzing a large case scenario. The predecessor auditor's report for the year ended 31st March 2024 was qualified due to a scope limitation as the auditor unable to obtain sufficient appropriate evidence to support the capitalization of internally generated brand development cost. Internally generated brand development cost, logo redesign, packaging concepts, global promotion campaign. So these concerns was the concern was whether LKS 38 intangible assets recognition criteria was not. So now audit report of the last year has been qualified due to a scope limitation of intangible asset. Now last year audit qualified opinion. Right, below is the extracted from the draft financial statement prepared by the CD for the year ended 31st March 2025. So this is a draft finance statement. Revenue is 65 billion and no much changes compared to last year. 2.6 billion profit, 2.1, not a big change. Total assets 85 billion and 79. This is how you are looking at the examination, student. Right? In the examination you are reading, this is how you have to look into. Intangible assets 27 billion and 24 billion, on which capitalized brand development 16 billion, opening balance 14 billion, and net debt is 22 million. Overall material level is 130 million. Remember, very crucial of all this information, if the examiner has not given, if the examiner had not been given the materiality, student, then you are supposed to calculate and take it. Right? You are supposed to calculate and take it. But in this case, examiner has given the materiality of 130 million. So the last year issue was 16 billion capitalization issue, which obviously it is going to be material. The followings were noted by the auditors during the initial planning for the year ended 31st March 2025. Right, opening balances and comparatives. Prior qualification related to the capitalized brand development cost for year 2025. Amortization impairment depend on the opening balances. Presentation of revenue has been clarified for year 2025, bulk versus branded. Comparatives are not restated and not provide the cross-reference only. Revenue presentation has been changed, but comparative has not been changed. Okay. Then accounting estimate, ECL expected credit loss on receivables, impairment. The trade receivables of 9.5 billion, loss allowance is 650 million. It is material. Our material level is 130 million. So this is going to be material. Introducing a macro overlay at the European Union and Middle East buyer stress. So there's an impairment coming into the trade debtors. Then the fair valuation, investment property of level 3 investment property at the 10.5 billion. External value is 6.25. Yield to market service indicates 7.5 to 8% for comparable logistic assets. Unquoted equity investment is in overseas distributor with 3.8 billion. Measured where discounted cash flow with aggressive import value price premium assumption. We'll discuss those while we are discussing the audit procedures. Then the RPT, sales of 4.7 billion to Lanka Distribution Private Limited owned by the CEO's brother, year-end receivable LKR 1.9 billion, 180 day terms, group standard 60 days. Director loan of 600 million at a 0% interest, repayable on demand. Warehouse lease with Serendip Holding Private Limited, Jazz House at rates reportedly above market. All right. Last point. Last 2 points. Going concern, A term loan of rupees 15 billion with a debt service coverage ratio is 1.2. A management draft shows 1.5 as at 31st June 2025. And a conditional waiver has been obtained. Depends on the right issue. Target LKR of 3.5 billion by Jan 2026 and sale of industrial property by 30th November 2025. Export demand volatility, freight cost spike, and supply delays continue the pressure margins. Those are kind of information given to going concern. And the other information of annual report, chart statement, net debt reduced by 20%, but debt increased by 19.5 billion. Sustainable report, zero package in defect despite FIA 25 returns and the warranty provision. Adjusted EBITDA exceed 1.1 billion restructuring cost in the third consecutive year. Right? So the question has a lot of information being given. Always remember, students, when you look at into the question number 6, generally difficult, not like question number 7. The informations are larger. Information is given are much larger. Remember that the question is easy. Sometimes information given in the question will not give a value addition for the required part. This is where from the beginning I have told that you have to have a very conscious mind, right? Very conscious mind in terms of conscious mind. So in terms of understanding the required part and giving the answer into the examiner's expectation, rather rewriting the large information given in the scenario or devoting too much of time in reading the question, right? Too much of time in reading the question. Right, first part, explain the procedures the present auditor perform. Right, okay, you don't have to read the information, this one, you can answer. Explain the procedures the present auditors perform in this initial engagement at CTE in respect of the prior qualification or capitalization of brand development costs. Brand development costs. What can be done? You don't have to have a much deep understanding of the case scenario to answer. Now, last year, there was audit qualification. Now, it was done by another auditor. We were not the auditors, right? We were not the auditors. So, it was done by another auditor. Now, current year, we are the auditors. So, we have the last year audit qualification. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? What audit procedures we can do? Just simply tell student what can be done. Discuss the qualification with auditor, mean with auditor. We are also auditor. What can be done further? Check with the corrections are done, misstatement, review the prior working papers, review the predecessor working paper, right? What most important, so you have to go step by step. What is most important, student, the first of all, you have to understand this issue, right? What is this issue? So understand the issue by reading the audit report. First, audit report plus discuss with the management, right? So understand the issue by reading the audit report and discuss with the management. So think on a practical manner. Now you are a new auditor, you do nothing, you don't know anything. So you understand by reading the audit report and discuss with the management. Then also you can review previous year auditors working papers. You can make a request from the previous year auditor that you want to see their working papers. If they are all right, they will give you, and you can discuss with them as well. What was the issue? Review the previous year audit working papers. That's a good sign. What else thereafter? So thereafter, you have to see that whether this issue has now been solved. The issues resolved now. So that means now they have not given the information with regard to the intangible asset. Have they given the information in the current year? If they haven't given, then qualification will remain same. But if they have given the information, then if they have resolved the problem, right? If they have resolved the problem, then what are we going to do? Nothing. That means informations have been given, sufficient appropriate audit evidences are available for us, and in order to get conclude that the closing balance, right, closing balance of the in order to get conclude the closing balance, sufficient appropriate audit evidences are available. What are we going to do? Audit qualification will not be there. But still, since the previous year audits were done by another auditor and assumed a qualified opinion, what kind of a thing that we add into the audit report? Since the last year audit was done by another auditor and it was a qualified opinion, and current year now we have resolved the matter and we are giving the current year opinion, but still we feel that to add what? Add what? Add an other matter paragraph. Can you remember those things? Theory, right? Not other information. No? Other information is something else. Other matter paragraph. When the auditor is changed at a moment, and auditor is changed at a moment, you have to tell to the stakeholders that the audit was done by another auditor who expressed a modified audit opinion on those statements. Right? That's very crucial. So this is the answer. So explain the procedures the person wanted to be. That's all. This is only we can do. You don't have to remember anything. You can think and write. See, this is this kind of an elaborative answer, but even to a certain extent answer. Understand the nature of the prior qualification by reviewing the predecessor auditor's report to identify the reason for qualification. This requires assessing whether the previous year's matter could have continuity effect on the current year figures, as there is amortization and impairment that could have been an impact, and obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence on the opening balance related to the intangible asset by performing alternative procedures. Example for this project: inspect project documentation, board approval, cost breakdown to confirm the compliance with LKS 38. Evaluate the impact on the current year, right? Audit opinion. If the evidence remain insufficient and affect current year's figures, consider a qualified opinion or a disclaimer of a scope limitation. Scope limitation, if the effect does not carry forward, include an other matter paragraph, right? Referring to the prior qualification. So this is the answer, but I don't know whether how far you have addressed it. But if you are technically, if you have practiced this kind of a similar past papers, you can easily write this question. You have think and write. It's not that you are memorizing and writing. You are thinking like a competent auditor. You always think like you are an independent auditor. Think like auditor always at the exam. So then it won't go wrong. Right. So the design specific audit procedures for the following areas at the CT and state the object. Actually, student, this is not trick. This is you can't write like so. You have to write the two audit procedures and the objective also. It's not possible at all. Right. So therefore, I don't think it's required to write the objective. It's too much for 5 marks. Then it should be up to 15 marks. It's an unfair question. Right. At least for learning for the purpose of what it called. Understanding, we will discuss the question, but there's an imbalance of the number of marks allocation that generally will not be seen in the final examination papers, right? The education division has taken an effort for you all to give a mock paper. We should not worry about the small, the minor setbacks, small things, but those are minor things. But what really matters is their effort in taking up this, preparing this paper and having the paper discussions, and also having prepare this kind of answer sheet, and also arranging you all to come and write the examination in the environment of the Sri Lanka premises. All these must be appreciated, right? So as far as the these things are concerned, actually there is no warranty. This thing should not be there. We'll go one by one. So when it comes to answer, also examiner has given investment property valuation. Yes. There was no such a thing. I also was worrying after looking at the paper. Warranty return provision only. This should be investment property fair valuation. This is a typing. It's a typing mistake, right? So this should be the correct question. Right. So if you look at the ECL, so what kind of procedures can be performed for ECL? Students, now all are judgments. When the judgment comes in, what kind of procedures can be performed? Now, for example, say, right, ECL. So we have ECL on 9.5 billion, sorry, debtors and 150 million ECL. So what kind of procedures can be done for the impairment student? What procedures? Basically, impairment mean, so you have to get their calculation and look at how they have done it. And look at the assumption, whether these assumptions are reasonable. And if at all, you can have your own independent calculation, right? Look at the subsequently what has happened. These audit procedures are nothing for you, right? I don't have to tell you that. Those are like straightforward procedures. Then when it comes to fair valuation of investment property, of course, get the fair valuation report what they have done. Look at the assumption and challenge the assumption and look at the auditor. Use the auditor's expert if at all if you need. And look at the unquoted equity investment. Next one, what are we going to do? Get their calculation. Challenge the assumption again, right? Challenge the assumption again, and whether the assumptions are appropriate. And RPT, what are we going to do? RPT. Understand this transaction. Look at the audit board minutes of look at the board minutes to check those transactions. Get the confirmation from those directors. Ensure that all have been properly disclosed. Right. Going concern, very simple. These all you like bread and butter now. Going concern, you get the management assessment, evaluate the management assessment, whether those are reasonable, right? Look at those actions, whether the evidences are there to prove the action that the management has taken, right? That's all. So I don't have to tell anything about the audit procedure, student, that anyone now, if you are doing the sale on paper on the 17th, you should be able to write the audit procedures for this kind of a question at a shot, right? At a one stretch, you should be able to write it. The straightforward, and you can just think and write going concern, look at the assumption, impairment, look at the going concern, look at the assessment, and impairment, look at the calculations and the assumption. Investment property, look at the valuer, who is the valuer, what is the competence of the valuer, what is the qualification of the value, what are the assumption used. RPT, look at the discuss with the management what the transaction is all about and get the confirmation from them. All these now should come like a flow. All right, these are but a bit of a procedures have been given here, students. So say ECL on receivable, challenge the assumption used by the management, test the last year in position, review the board approval, and investment value challenge, yield the market evidence, and consider the auditor's valuation specialist. Likewise, any audit procedure is accepted by the examiner, even if you have any other specific procedure, something which is matching, examiner will accept it. Challenge the assumption used for the valuation, reconcile the board approval, perform DCF, check the adequacy of the level disclosure, and the RPT, third party disclosures, completeness, and review the comparison reports and compare the pricing terms, insurer names, like all getting confirmation, all can be done. Going concern, obtain management assessment for more than 12 months, very crucial. Test the cash flow forecast, evaluate the waiver condition, and all that is there. Right, so that's the answer for the question part B, and then the answer to the question part C. Right, what the examiner is telling you, apply your understanding on Sri Lanka auditing standard to determine the likely report outcome, audit report outcome, type of opinion, right, with the justification of the following instances. That's easy for you. Management's going concern disclosure adequately describe the covenant breach conditional waiver, right issue, dependency, disposal plan, and uncertainties. Management going concern disclosure adequately describe the covenant breached. Everything disclosed. Now, what is the impact of the audit report? Either qualified, disclaimer, then adverse, emphasis of matter, other matter. What are we going to do for the first one? What do you think? Others, quickly answer. This is an unmodified. What are we going to do? This is an unmodified opinion. That is clear. Unmodified, but you're exactly tell. Huh? Unmodified opinion with what? Emphasis of matter. unmodified opinion with other matter. Is that correct? Emphasis of matter? This kind of a situation? What do you think? Other matter or other information? Unless you tell the others also, you have to give the answers. Otherwise, I won't move forward. Just give me the straightforward answer. When there is a going concern issue and the going concern has already been adequately addressed it and the things have been properly disclosed, right? What needs to be done? Obviously, this is something unmodified opinion plus additional para on going concern, right? Not the emphasis of matter, not the other matter. This are because this is going under the going concern students. Clear? So my humble request to you all that the going concern you cannot play around. Have a look on the properly going concern. There are 4 reporting circumstances. Report karna avastha hatarak tiro. So that you need to have a good understanding with regard to the going concern. Then, right? Number 2, going concern disclosures are inadequate. The second situation, going concern is there, but the disclosures are inadequate. What are we going to do? What the opinion? Quickly answer. Of course, depending on the purposiveness, you can't say just simply modified. Nah? That the examiner asks the type of opinion. You can see type of opinion and the paragraph. You can't just say modified, then you won't get any single mark. So what that? Either you have to see the qualified or adverse opinion, right? Adverse opinion. So depending on the purposiveness. That's in the chart, going concern chart. You cannot obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence on opening capitalized brand development cost affecting the current year amortization and impairment. What would be the opinion? What do you think? Again, you cannot obtain the evidences on the capitalized brand development cost. What kind of an opinion? Please answer. After you answer only, I will move forward. This is a straightforward question. This is a qualified opinion, students. If someone say this is a qualified opinion, you can't say this is disclaimer. You know why? Obviously, you know the figures here. That is why the examiner has given you the figures for you to assess the purposiveness. So now here they have given the brand development cost figures. Say now intangible assets is 27 billion. Out of that 16 billion. 16 billion of assets are in trouble out of the total asset of 85 billion. Is this purposive? Tell me this purposive. 16 billion is in trouble out of 85 billion. Is this in trouble? Is this purposive? Gut feeling? No. Then can you say disclaimer? Then you can't say disclaimer. You can't say disclaimer. Straightforward answers, it is qualified. Conclusion is needed. The next one, the free interest director loan is omitted from the notes. Management refused to correct material but not purposive. Obviously, this is qualified will come. Right? Material but not purposive itself, the answer is there. Right. The next one, the last one, explain the auditor's responsibility over the other information referred in the scenario above. So with regard to the other information, what is our duty? So if you see the information given with regard to the other information in the case study, so the last paragraph, it says other information in the annual report. Chair statement, net debt reduced by 20%, but debt increased by 19.52. So that means chairman statement is wrong. Right? Chairman statement is wrong. Right? Then sustainability report says zero package in defect, but 25 returns and the warranty provision. So that means that also wrong. And adjusted EBITDs exclude 1.5 billion. So that also wrong. Now, as far as these other informations are concerned, student, what the responsibility of the auditor? The responsibility of the auditor is what? So basically, first of all, we have to read the other information. We have to read the other information and see whether what, see what. We have to read the other information as the auditor, and we have to see what. What are we going to see? Reading is our responsibility. What are we going to do? Material inconsistency. Remember that technical writing is important at the paper. It's whether there are any material inconsistency, right? Material inconsistency in terms of material inconsistency with the other information and the finance statement. If the finance, next step, if the finance statements are wrong, then correct the finance statement. If not correcting, have a impact to the audit opinion. Let's say other informations are wrong. First of all, tell to the management or those charged with governance, look here, you do the changes. If they don't do, then you have to report through the other information section in the audit report. Or worst case, what are you going to do? Withdraw from the engagement. Right. So that's a very interesting question from the audit reporting. So I'm not going to read it out, but of course that you will. So this is because the previous question was about 5 marks. So you are supposed to explain like this, and I'm not going to read that. So you get straightforward question. But then other information. So examiner also tell the first one, read the other information. Consider whether it is material inconsistent. The technical word is there with the financial statement and auditor's knowledge of otherwise materially misstated, right? That's very important. Then discuss with the management, request correction if incorrect, and describe the misstatement in the other information section, and identify the other information obtained, state responsibility, read and clarify that the auditor does not express assurance, right? And describe any uncorrected misstatement identified. All right, students, we are coming to the last question, the question number 7. Do we have any questions of the previous question? You have any problem? So I'm thankful for all the appreciating for the students, those who are waiting now about almost 4 hours. But I'm happy that still there's a good number of students are waiting in the live class. But we can't put it to another day. We have to finish today because you are near to the examination, another less than 2 weeks of time. So no time of again having a live session for you all. So we will finish it off that. Question number 7. Do you have any questions? The previous, if the report is already published, can we write as prevent reliance of information? No, it's generally report generally will not publish unless otherwise auditor read it. So now there is a requirement of the right reading the information by the auditor. So therefore, prevent reliance of all these. We won't come for the other information. Right. Question number 7. We basically looking into something else, right? Risk assessment and all that. It's an interesting question. Again, I hope that we'll see how many of you will have a courage of listening to this question for next half an hour and also then wind up. Right. So the required part of the first part of the question examiner is asking, assess the risk of material misstatement, including the fraud risk that should be focused of the audit of CMP based on the facts provided in the above scenario 5. Risk of material misstatement, that is bread and butter of all of you, that you are well aware of identifying the risk of material misstatement for a given scenario. Outline 4 suitable overall responses. There are responses in the theory we learn. The responses, that is entire finance statement as a whole. Also, responses connecting to the assertion level. 3. Further audit procedures assertion level tailored to CMP for the identified risk. All right. And then overall response and further audit procedures assertion level. Right. That means you write the audit procedures for each risk identified. This is again unfair question for a number of marks. An unfair question that would not be in the final paper. Discuss the statement made by one of the junior members regarding the compliance to the laws and regulations. Explain 5 of the matters to be communicated with those charged with governance in this engagement and why. So you are expected 5 matters. That is also a bit of an over expectation, and you have to explain why as well, right? So now we will read the question in order to identify the risk that all of you are very well through for that the risk assessment questions. So we'll read the question. Now we are reading for what? Identifying the risk of material misstatement. Always the risk of material misstatements are inbuilt in the question itself. But what is the talent or what is the difference coming in students? So you always need to ensure proper, high quality answer is delivered. So what the difference is, you always write a good answer, but identification of risk anyone will do. Even let's say there are 50% is the pass rate of your subject this time, or 60%, let's say. Even 100, at least 85, they will write all this risk assessment. Difference will be the quality of writing answer. The Zmart PLC is a listed company on the Colombo Stock Exchange. It's a PLC, unlisted company. It is an importer and distributor, right? Nature of the business is importer and distributor of fast-moving consumer goods. So importer and distributor of fast-moving consumer goods. Right. It operates through a 7 regional warehouse and fast-growing e-commerce channels. So it's an e-commerce business like Kapluka. The financial year end at CMP 31st March 2025, very crucial information, very crucial. The year ending is important. You are the audit senior leading planning and risk assessment related to the audit engagement of CMP. A very crucial information, student. Very crucial at the beginning, name of the company, whether it's a PLC or a private limited, nature of the business, and also the year end are very important information. And then the draft financial results for the year end at 31st March 2025. So basically revenue 122 billion, profit before tax 1.1 billion, and the inventory 22.25 billion. So these informations are given for you to make understand the gravity of the each and every area being discussed below. Trade receivables over 19.5 billion. So now, so if you really want to calculate the materiality, so you can calculate and take an even from the PBT. Right, the following observation made during the planning phase of the audit: revenue complexity. Year-end push promotions, buy now, pay next quarter. So those are very common, right? And Zell-in rebates, scan-based trading, rights of return for major chains, several site letters maintained by sales. The revenue has become complex, students, because a lot of promotions are being made, and all those promotions need to be accounted properly at the year-end financial statement. That will have a definite impact, in terms of financial statement. So therefore, by closing my eyes or closing your eyes, we can simply come to a conclusion that revenue recognition of SLFRS 15 is riskier, right? Do you agree? Yes, you should agree, right? Then trade spend and accruals. Promotion accruals are large. Finance space that the ERP cannot report all promotions, and hence the manual topside journals are posted monthly. So obviously students. So if the manual J's are passed, right? So it's into the accruals, right? If manual journal entries are being passed, the risk of material misstatement is very, very, very high, right? There is a higher chance of finance statements are being misstated when you look at into the journal entries, when you are looking into the manual journal entries monthly basis. And system is not control this kind of e-commerce business, there's a higher chance of the financial statements are being misstated, right? And then systems and control, the ERP migration was in September 24. We are looking at 31st March 2025. User access cleanup is delayed and super users remain. POS returned interfaces to the GL had mapping issues during quarter three. Actually, this is information like in the practical situation, practical informations have been inbuilt students like Q3 and all that. So your final paper, these things will not be there. This is a practicing paper, right? So this the information like POs and all these will not come like this. It will be proper explanation will be given, and also the vocabulary will be very straightforward and the simple. So therefore, this kind of information would not be expected in the final examination, and we have not received in the previous time as well. So therefore, when the systems and control, when you see that, so there is a system IT controls issue. You can see there's IT control issue that will impact to the finance statement as a whole. Now, if you look at the revenue will impact only out of the revenue of association level, but IT controls will look at the finance statement as a whole. Right. Then the whistleblower. So you are indicating something, an allegation. Fictitious vendor created by a procurement managers, kickbacks via marketing agencies. Kickback marketing via agencies. It's again a practical word, not a theoretical word. So it's a kind of general words sometimes we are using in the practice. So the paper should have been set by one of the practicing chartered accountant who is practicing in the firm. But when you look at the final papers, I don't think this kind of wordings would coming in my prediction. Kickbacks means sometime when you are working in the procurement division, so you are getting a personal advantage. Say you are in the procurement division, sometime you have been your medical bill is paid by the other people like suppliers, so that kind of a thing. Duplicate payment to 3PL logistic, 3PL mean third party logistics, so these should not come into the paper, right? But it is there. I'm just explaining the industry wording. Third party logistics providers, right? Duplicate payment, very common. Even I got to know recently one of my company's payment also logistic payment has come twice, because it's comes sometime regularly, then you can't identify whether it is a duplicate payment or not. So there's a high possibility of these things are being happening as a fraud risk. And again, another number four, I can see the fraud risk, right? Remember this internal control also financial statement level, journal entries also at the financial statement level, fraud also at the finance statement, not at the association level, right? Not at the association level. Then customs and pricing, certain stock keeping units carry special custom duties. Some items fall under the Consumer Affairs Authority maximum price regulations. Part of export sale is routed through a related trading companies in Dubai. So what's the risk factor you can see here? Can you tell me, student? Certain stock keeping units carry special custom duties. Some items fall under the Consumer Affairs Authority maximum price regulations. Part of export sale is routed through the related trading companies in Dubai. So what kind of a thing will happen? What kind of risk that you see? Yeah, Rajiv is correct that the inventory valuation. Okay. So when this kind of a situation is there, right, some items fall under the Consumer Authority maximum price regulation. Inventory NRV is in trouble, right? So you, even though you brought at a high cost from the foreign countries, you cannot sell at that price because the Consumer Authority say this is the maximum ceiling of the pricing. So if you have the maximum ceiling of pricing, you cannot, right? You cannot do therefore inventory valuation, right? Inventory valuation is going to be a problem. And laws and regulation to relevant to CMP, Environmental Act and all these are there. So they are for non-compliance with the laws and regulations also there. So now you see there are six kind of six and this can be recognized as a RPT also, number 7, right? Because they are trading company. And internal audit highlight the last quarter flagged the supplier master duplicates, manual credit notes approvals by sales, and three-way match override of urgent priorities. Again, internal control issue, and that you can take it like a connected to the fraud. During the planning meeting, the junior member of the audit team stated the auditor should ensure full compliance with the all laws and regulation applicable to the entity during the audit of financial statements. Right. So now, students, if you look at this risk, you can take it up. Revenue, obviously, you should have identified. Huh? All of you should have identified the revenue. Journal entry should have been identified. And the IT control, sometimes you would have not identified. But fraud, of course, right? Revenue and the fraud, if it's not then it is not there in your answer, is something wrong somewhere. And also inventory valuation should be there. Inventory valuation and non-compliance with the laws and regulation also will be there. So these are kind of risk. Right, students, there was some network issue coming in. So some I lost the connection. So I hope that now is okay. Let me to share the screen. So now, students, so what I was talking about the overall suitable overall response, right? So suitable overall response mean now when the auditor carry out the audit procedures, you have overall response. Also, you have assertion level response, right? Overall response mean it impact to the entire finance statement as a whole. For example, as we learn in the study text and all. So, for example, appointing an experienced team, using a specialist, right? Sometimes using a specialist, the support for that, and change in the nature, timing, and extent of audit procedure. These are straightforward theory, what we should have learned now. So this kind of overall responses can be performed, like maybe ITGC verifications can be done, but that I know you. So if you cannot remember the overall responses in the theory student, you may be thinking that whether I don't know this one, but straightforward. You should know overall responses is one of the critical thing in the auditing application where I should remember now. If you can't remember, this will be a magic for you now. So if you cannot remember, please go to the note and see overall responses, what commonly auditors will apply. Then three other further audit procedures mean it's one by one you can think of what the procedures. Okay, revenue mean you know revenue what can be done. Revenue check the agreement, right? Very important. All these promotions and all, check the policies, check the cutoff, right? Accruals, manual journal entries, check the do the JE testing, look at the JE sample and see whether all things have been done it properly, right? And the systems ITGC mean you have to have ITGC review because this is a overall level. Fraud also finance statement level, and say finance statement level you can write it. Inventory you do in subsequent invoice verification for inventory, right? So therefore now here student remember revenue is assertion level risk, JE certain extent assertion level risk, but ITGC, fraud, non-compliance with the laws and regulation, these three are the finance statement level risk. With the finance statement level risk, you can't write the answers in the part B. No? So examiner specific asking overall response for the finance statement level risk and specific for the procedures for assertion level risk. Then you can write the procedures for inventory, procedures for accruals, and procedures for this revenue. That's all. And RPT also you can write. That's also a assertion level. Right. So I'm not going to waste the time because I know that your audit risk assessment is generally much familiar by all the students. So the examiner also has given the things that we have already identified here: revenue recognition and accruals, procurement, fraud, inventory and landed cost of NRV, right? And ITGC and the RPT export. So, right, these can be taken. And overall responses like finance statement level. Now, please understand that if you haven't understood, I'll re-explain. Remember, right? Remember that. So I'm explaining this one. Understand the examiner's expectation. Examiner is asking the risk of material misstatement, RMM, right? And the examiner does not specify financial statement level, right? Examiner does not specify whether it is a financial statement level, right? Whether it is a financial statement level or the assertion level, does not specify. You can write anything. Whether fraud is a financial statement level, non-compliance is a financial statement level, revenue is assertion level, inventory is assertion level. So you write all. Okay. But when it comes to part B, examiner is asking the overall response. The overall response for what? Overall financial statement level risk. Assertion level response. What? Assertion level. So then you should be able to figure out from the above list what assertion level and write the procedures accordingly. Right? So I hope that you got my point here. Right? Evaluating the skepticism, assign experienced staff, and unpredictability, right? Unpredictability you can inbuilt, especially support ITG focus. So those are overall response. Then further procedures, revenue and accruals, fraud payments also you can do substantive procedures, but an inventory custom NRV and IT journal entries, right? Those are like verification. Right, we are coming to the part C and the D. C is discuss the statement made by one of the junior members regarding the compliance with the laws and regulation. One of the junior members are telling that during the planning stage, the junior member of the audit team stated that the auditor should ensure full compliance with the laws and regulation applicable to the entity during the audit of the finance statement. Is that correct, student? Is that correct? Tell me yes or no at least. Is that correct? No. Right. Laws and regulation. It is not the auditor's responsibility. We are not lawyers, right? It is not our responsibility to check all the laws and regulations which are applicable in the finance statement. But what is our responsibility? Our responsibility is to check whether the laws and regulation which will have a right direct effect on the financial statement. In doing that, can you remember the standard SLI US 250? Right. In doing that, there are two categories of laws, right? So there are certain laws that which will have a direct determination, right? Direct impact, direct effect on determination of the materials amount of the finance statement, like for example, VAT, right? But also there are some laws and regulation which will not have a direct effect, but it is fundamental in operational aspect. This theory can you should remember, right? Fundamental in operational aspect. So for that, for a direct determination or a direct effect non-compliances, we should gather sufficient and appropriate audit evidences. For indirect laws and regulation, we should be alert, we should have professional skepticism, and if there is a non-compliance, then we should get the sufficient approval to determine. It's a straightforward theory and nothing much in the practical application. So if you know the remember the theory, you can write. If you cannot remember the theory, that you can't write. So that's a unfortunate part or a fortunate part. Right, compliance with the laws and regulation. The auditor's role is to obtain assurance that the finance statements are free from material misstatement, including those arising from non-compliance with the laws and regulation that will have a direct and material effect on the finance statement. SLS 250 state what are the responsibilities of the auditors in respect of the area, which include understand the legal regulatory framework and how compliance is monitored, perform risk assessment procedures to identify non-compliance that could be material effect, and the direct effect laws, perform substantive procedures. Last question for the day, and explain five matters to be communicated with those charged with governance, in this engagement and why. Can you tell me, student? Now, with those charged with governance, meaning the board of directors, the audit committee, and all that. So, what we are going to tell as auditors? What are we going to communicate? Can somebody comment, please? Significant audit matters, any fraud, yeah, deficiencies, internal control, perfectly all right. Fraud, perfectly all right. Significant issues and the recommendations, okay. Then students now, from the starting point of view, are in non-compliance also correct. Say starting point, what is our plan and the scope, issues identified, deficiencies of the internal controls, and also the like unadjusted errors. You remember those things: unadjusted errors, uncorrected misstatements, disagreement with management, right? Independence concern, right? I hope that is straightforward to you all that you can even think and write. So there, what is the point to be taken, students? Always certain questions are there in the auditing paper. You can always think and write. Plan, scope, significant qualitative aspects, significant difficulties, uncorrected misstatement, independence, internal control deficiencies, fraud matters. Likewise, there are so many. Right. So with that, we are concluding a quick discussion on the paper. So it was talk about almost about 4 hours. Now, students, just to highlight you a few things. Since you are listened into the mock paper, I just want to highlight you a few things. So listen to this one carefully. Right. Now, students, right. As far as this mock examination is concerned, the mock is a kind of a testing paper, right? So now when the mock is testing paper, that you cannot expect the mock examination type of question on the final paper. So therefore, you have to avoid that, right? So if you have attempted this paper and if you have got kind of a little bit of a, let's say at least 50 marks of this paper, so you have to be happy, right? And if you have got stuck in the certain areas, let's say risk assessment, or let's say sometime uh, some different areas like digital auditing or IT aspect, or maybe internal control. So if you have got some weak areas, so what you need to do is you have to study those areas during the next, right, next over the 11 days or 10 days what you have, right? And now you have to forget about the mock exam paper. You got your all points, that's correct. Don't waste investigate time, look at on those areas and to be done. And also, given the limited time for the next 8 9 days or 10 days student, what my request to you all is that we always practice the past papers as much as possible. Practice the past papers and just try to link into the theory that you learn. All the past papers what is given in the past papers are very standard past papers. Those are always linked with the theory, right? You try to build that predation to the next 10 days, rather you memorizing the theory. For theory to past papers won't work, past paper to theory that need to come back, right? And also, student, in terms of the target areas, I know that all are waiting for the target areas to be seen. So the target area, when it comes to target area, you have to first of all look at all the past papers of the last 5 years. And if you look at it, that you can predict and what kind of target areas will be available. But as far as the specific target areas are concerned, so it's be careful of the control environment of the internal control and also the assurance engagement, digital auditing. So normally I prepare a target area booklet, and I mean I'm not ready to as of now to give you the target area as of now, but I will be anyway 1 week before the examination, I will be releasing a document which will be available in the social media as well. So that target area booklet, right, that you can study. But uh, as of now, I'm not ready as of now to give you the target areas other than the common areas like control environment and the assurance engagement, especially these agreed upon procedures and the prospective financial information. So like other than the specific area, so I'm not able to comment as of now, but definitely the next 1 week time it will be available and you can refer. It will be available among the students of CL1 and it will be available that you can use that one. That is the next 1 week time. But I'm not really encouraging you to look at on the target areas, because so you have to finally end of the day the examiner will test your auditing knowledge. So you have to have the auditing knowledge. So in terms of auditing knowledge, what matters is that they look at the past papers and core areas like maybe risk assessment, audit planning, audit reporting, digital auditing, internal control, ethics, assurance, quality management. So these areas that you have to as much as possible enhance the expertise, right? Your expertise enhancing has to be done. That expertise enhancing uh, can only be done, right? Expertise enhancing can only be done through practicing the past papers, right? And also students, in the meantime, so I know that, right, you some of my videos are available in the online account, sorry, online academy of Sri Lanka YouTube channel. So there are the theoretical discussion what we done for the CA students on behalf of Sri Lanka is available so that you can watch it. But this at this stage, I do not recommend for you to uh, watch these videos and waste the time. But I would encourage you to practice the past papers as much as possible. Some of the previous mock examination papers that I have done also would be available by now, but not to waste time too much for the mock papers, but try to look at the past papers. That is my advice, right? And also, students, if you have any kind of a issue, right, if you want any special support or a kind of a guidance from me at any stage, so you can always reach to me. The Reach to me. I'll give you whatever the support during the next 10 days, whatever you want for the during the examination, right? So answer script that we discussed today, student, will be shared by Sri Lanka shortly. That will be sure the education division will be shared the answer script that we discussed is today. And you wanted the my contact number is, I have put it to the chat box, right? So I have already put it to the chat box now. So you can right But remember, so you have to don't direct dial me. So you can put me a text that I will, whenever I have a time, I will reply. Right. So that's the right. Answer sheet, of course, that will be that will be shared by the CA Sri Lanka very shortly in the via the email. So they will be I mean they will be officially sharing with you all the answer sheet that is needed. Right. So with that, I think we are almost finishing for 4 hours. From 6:15 we started. Now we reached the 10:15, and the so we will be winding up the session now. And again, I'm highlighting that. So depend on your success will of the 17th. All depend on the practicing question. So do your maximum. This is the last opportunity. You have the courage. You have the motivation. Believe yourself, and don't think about another time. Anyway, don't know another time for the exam. You think of this. You believe yourself. You have to believe yourself. You can do this game, and on that principles. And I wish you all the very best and good luck to pass the examination on 17th. And then, so probably, so you will move to the strategic level in the next examination, and then 2026 or 27 at a BMICH at a convocation, we can meet you as a chartered accountant. Right? Thank you very much, students.